Bim, guess what? It's Saturday, and that could only mean one thing. It's 8 o'clock, so it's what a week that was, and what a week it's been. This week we're going to talk about balloons, Rishi Sunak, Biden, gun crime in America, again, China telling everyone not to panic, UK strikes, and at the end we'll have a bit of fun with an old Twitter account that I've rediscovered. Well, to be fair, they've just reposted a lot of stuff from a few years ago. Hopefully they're coming back full time, so we'll have a look at that later on. But yeah, at first we're just going to start off with the world news and what happened on Sunday of last week. That is a question no one's asking, but I'm going to tell you anyway, because that's the way I roll it, isn't it? Yes it is. So, news from this week is, actually this is just from this week, a nationwide strike in France against pension reform has disrupted power production, public transport and schools. The backlash comes as the government announces plans to increase the retirement age by 2 years to 64. There's also elements of pay in there as well that they're not happy about. And it's just like we say, it's all over the world. Hi Angela, welcome. You made it. I hope you're good. In Spain, a Spanish court ruled that Amazon broke labour laws by forcing more than 2,000 delivery drivers to use an app that the company controlled for scheduling work and payments, and requiring them to use their own cars and cell phones on the job. So Amazon in trouble for being a bad boss. And again, we covered that last week, didn't we? Talking of a bad boss, this guy had a bad boss. This guy, I'm good. How's your mum doing? Oh, yeah, moving on. It's not going to get any better, is it, with my mother? It has to be said, unfortunately. But what can you do? What can you do? Yeah, this is Zawawi, who finally got sacked on Sunday after, well, what seemed like going on forever of him not being sacked. And you're like, why isn't he gone yet? Why hasn't he gone yet? He's messed around, he's had tax issues. He was the Chancellor at Exchequer whilst he still had issues with the tax man for millions, not like a couple of grand or whatever. Oh no, this is millions and millions and millions of pounds. He didn't tell Boris, he didn't tell Liz Truss or Rishi about it. When Rishi found out that he'd not been told about it, he got angry and he fired him. Sad news from Hexham. Holly Newsom was named as the 15-year-old girl who was fatally stabbed in Hexham. A boy of 16 has been charged with murder and attempted murder of a 16-year-old boy who also got injuries as well. Again, condolences to the family and friends. Developers have 6 weeks to sign contracts saying that they're going to fix all the problems on the claddings of all the buildings all over the country that they basically ignored since the Grenfell tragedy a number of years ago now. But they've been told they've got 6 weeks to sign contracts to say they're going to pay for it, they're going to sort it out, and these people who live in these flats, who bought them in good faith, will hopefully be able to sleep safe and feel more secure. Two tragedies actually in Pakistan. One was a boat, 10 children drowned on a lake in Pakistan, absolutely awful. And on the same day, a bus crash killed 41 people in Pakistan as a bus came off a bridge, landed in a ravine, upside down, and burst into flames. Again, absolutely horrendous. Thoughts and prayers with everyone involved. Really not good at all. Meanwhile, in Scotland, no jail swaps for trans convicts is the headline, and basically the government of Scotland have now said that they will not swap people who are trans from whichever prison they are currently in until there's an inquiry to find out which prison they should be in. And basically they've opened up a massive can of worms, and like I've said before, with the new law that they've come in, these are all these trans people who are currently in prison predate the new law, which to be fair hasn't actually gone through because the British government is blocking it, but basically, if you dress up and act like a woman for 6 months in Scotland, you can then, without any examination, without any assessment of your mental health or physicality or anything like that, you can then change all your genders on everything, driving licence, birth certificate, everything, to being a female. And this opens up a huge can of worms for people abusing the system so that they can get into places, if they're perverts, where men are not allowed. It's going to be more men than women who take advantage of this. But yeah, it just baffles me that they're coming up with these ideas in Scotland. It's meant to be progressive, and it just seems going backwards. By all means, people want to be what they want to be, that's fine, but you've got to look at all the connotations of it and the loopholes that you're creating, and Scotland have just created a massive one. To be fair, Spain have as well, and again, we'll wait and see how that pans out over the next few years. Meanwhile, in Greater Manchester, a lot of green belt areas, of which there aren't so many now, have been designated as suitable for building new houses on. However, the government now have scrapped the idea of building on green field sites, but a few councils in Greater Manchester are going ahead anyway, including Wigan, who have got one developer who's trying to build on 2 different greenfields sites and has been given the go-ahead. Same developer, go ahead for building on greenfield sites. You make your own assumption of what's going on there, because I'll be honest with you, it's not good, whatever it is. So it was quite busy, to be fair, Sunday, because normally there's not a lot going on a Sunday, but no, this Sunday was busy. But then we go to Monday, ba ba, ba ba, looks good to me, ba ba, ba ba ba. For the first time in 10 years, firefighters have voted to strike. Now, it wasn't that long ago when they voted to strike and all the green goddesses were out. The problem is, a lot of the green goddesses have been scrapped now because they're like 50 years old, so I don't know quite how the army is going to intervene, should they need to, if your house is on fire. But yeah, fingers crossed, it'll either get sorted or the army have got new fire engines. Although I never understood why they had fire engines anyway. But anyway, let's worry about that. Meanwhile, Rishi has come under fire for not sacking Zawawi, the chairman of the Conservative Party, earlier, and waiting for what he called due course. But he also said on Monday that he's going to help the NHS with beds and ambulances to cut waiting lists. 5,000 beds, 800 ambulances by next winter. But yeah, again, we wait with breath abated to see whether or not that actually happens. Basically, similar to what I've said for a while now, which is why don't we just do Nightingale wards, where we have these wards where people can actually go to once they're out of critical danger, or if they don't need to be in a hospital proper, to free up the beds in the main hospital, but still get medical attention. So basically, not dissimilar to the Nightingale hospitals that we had during the COVID crisis. Third tragedy in 2 days in Pakistan. This time, at least 59 dead, 150 injured in a mosque explosion within a police compound. And it was a massive explosion as well. It literally blew a wall out of the building and, well, yeah, it caused untold harm to many people. And I just don't understand where people get to where they think that blowing people up is putting their cause across. It just doesn't make sense to me. You know, if you've got to the stage where the only way you think by winning is by killing people, innocent people, then you've lost. End of. Putin, are you watching? Talking of which, Putin's men and women and, well, everyone in the Kremlin basically said that what Boris Johnson said about Putin threatening him with a missile that will only take a few minutes to send a missile, I don't want to harm you, blah blah blah, was absolute nonsense and didn't happen. So because the Kremlin have said it, and it's against Boris Johnson, I believe the Kremlin. Well, it is against Boris Johnson, so it's probably the right thing to do to believe the Kremlin. Meanwhile, Sean Dyche has been promoted, or, well, I don't know if promoted is quite the right word, but given the job as the Everton Football Club manager. Now, I don't normally cover sport, I'll be honest with you, because I have no interest in it whatsoever. But Sean Dyche is the kind of person who I find interesting as a human being. So it'll be interesting to see how he does with Everton. More of that later. But yeah, he got the job after Lampard got the kick. Well, kicked out. He didn't get the kick. If he'd got a kick, he might have got a goal and he might have stayed in the job. But anyway, that was Monday. Tuesday comes along, and Tuesdays are always an exciting day, because you never know what's going to happen on a Tuesday. And this Tuesday, we got warnings that the strikes the following day, which will be Wednesday, would be massive, because there's approximately 500,000 people going out on strike on the same day, all in different areas of jobs. So you got train drivers and teachers and nurses and blah 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 blah, and it's going to be awful and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I was around in the 70s. We had more than 500,000 people on strike back then, and it never affected me then. So I don't catch a train, I don't know anything else, so I'm not bothered. But yeah, the government have warned of disruption. Meanwhile, something that's already been disrupted is the UK economy. Not because of Jeremy Hunt, whom that is, but because of Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng, whom basically destroyed the economy in what, a week of actually getting full control after the funeral and the mourning of the Queen, and we will fall. Our economy will fall through the year. But all the other economies in the world, or at least the top countries in the world, will rise, and bizarrely that includes Russia. And you're like, oh crikey, that's not good. Some good news about a tragedy from many years ago is that the police have actually finally got round to apologising and basically owning up that the Hillsborough disaster was their fault. 96 people died within a couple of years of the incident, and then we lost a 97th in the last 12 months, but again, injuries and early death has been put to the Hillsborough disaster, so it now makes 97 people who've died. There was an inquiry. The inquiry finished years ago, and finally the police have actually held their hands up and said, yes, there was mistakes made, and we apologise as the whole of the police for the errors made. Now the problem is, it was 30 odd years ago. A lot of the police in charge have retired, and a lot have passed away through old age, etc. It would have been nicer if they'd have actually had the kahunas to apologise at the time. And newspapers like The Sun, they need to apologise massively as well, because they accused, wrongly accused, blatantly wrongly accused the Liverpool fans for the disaster on themselves, and basically said, not that they deserved it, but certainly there was no sympathy shown, and to this day the people of Merseyside are not buying the Sun newspaper, and I don't blame them. Now this is an interesting one. The government apparently are saying now that what they're going to do is they're going to make it so that no matter where you live in the country, within 15 minutes of leaving your house and walking at a, I assume, a steady pace, you will be able to find a relaxing area with either water or a grass or trees or whatever, no matter where you are in the country. And you're like, wow, that sounds amazing. And then I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I live in Wigan, and even if I lived in the centre of Wigan, it wouldn't take me 15 minutes to walk to the canal, which is water, and where I live it takes me 5 minutes and I'm in the countryside, and it takes me 2 minutes and I've got a massive green area, just, well, less than 2 minutes, between our estate and the next estate, and then there's other green areas between other estates as well. It's actually quite a nice area, I'll be honest with you. That's why I've lived here 30 odd years. So you think, oh well, it must be for the people in the cities. But then you think, oh, hang on a minute. Look at Manchester. There's a canal going through it, and it kind of weaves in and out, and there's more than one bit of it. So there's quite a few canals going through it. So you can get to, no matter where you are in Manchester, you can get to the water quickly. And there's the river as well. So, okay. And there's a few parks. Even in the city centre, there's grassy areas where people sunbathe when it's hot. Like Piccadilly Gardens, for example. And other squares, one not too far away from the old Granada Studios area. So I think, oh, okay then. Well, maybe it's for the people in the countryside. But then, oh, hang on a minute, they're already in the countryside. So what is he actually promising? Because I'm pretty sure there's very few people, if you could be arsed, walking 15 minutes from your house in the right direction, you wouldn't be able to find some greenery or some water of some kind that, to be fair, I do find relaxing. I do enjoy walking along a canal. I do enjoy walking through the woods and that kind of thing. Except when it's muddy and my feet get stuck, like they did when I filmed that Wigan Watch thing the other week when it snowed. And yeah, my shoes are still a bit muddy now, and I've even tried to wash them. But it's like a promise about something that already exists pretty much for, I would have thought, more than 80% of the population. And I reckon, you know, if you pushed it a little bit, you might even get up to about 90% of the population have got the ability to find some green area. So I can't imagine there's much that the government needs to do, because technically it's already there. But yeah, it was a weird one. I thought, oh, that's brilliant, that's really good. And then, oh, hang on a minute, no, we've already got that one. Thanks, Rishi. Thanks for promising something we've already got. Talking of Scousers, which we were before, the key was officially handed over for Eurovision from, I think it was Turkey, to the Mayor of Liverpool, and the Eurovision, right, long story short, Eurovision was won by Ukraine, but obviously Ukraine's in a war. That's probably why they won it, to be fair. We came second with that horrible Sam Ryder song. God, I hate Sam Ryder so much. And I told you, it get annoying. I said at the time, I said, after Eurovision, he's going to really get on your nerves, because he's going to be everywhere. And he's been on so many different things, and he's just so annoying. I despise the man. Not like Jeremy Clarkson despises women, but, you know, if he's on telly, I will turn over the channel. Oh, we're back. So yeah, although, how much did you get of that? Yeah, so basically, Sam Ryder everywhere, annoying, turn it over, and blah blah blah. Sam Ryder's, yeah, he's monitoring this, and he put a spanner in the works then, or a massive key, might be. Anyway, it's being held in Liverpool, but on behalf of Ukraine. But I do feel that Liverpool are kind of taking it a bit too serious. It's about Liverpool, and no, it's not about Liverpool. It's about Ukraine and the situation the Ukrainians are in. If Ukrainian weren't at war, okay, they may not have won it, and yay, we may have actually, yeah, got it. Anyway, but yeah, it's a weird one, and I don't quite understand why Liverpool are thinking that they're great because they've got it. Like I say, they've only got it by default. I'm going to have a trip up to Liverpool and have a look around and see what they've got for it, but I'm expecting stuff to do with Ukraine rather than stuff to do with ain't Liverpool great and all that, because yeah, like I say, it's not about Liverpool, it's about Ukraine. I know, controversial, but there you go. Then we got to Wednesday. Wednesday is always an interesting day, because what goes on a Wednesday stays on a Wednesday. No. First rule about Wednesday is, yeah, big strikes. There were massive strikes, apparently, all over the country, and people went marching through London. Whoa, look at us! Whoa, we're all waving our banners around and all that kind of stuff. And the argument is, yeah, a lot of workers have been held back on wage rises, particularly public sector workers, because the government have to pay them out of taxes and all that kind of stuff. And the money hasn't been there, because when 13 years ago when Labour left, there was no money left at all, so the government have had to build the money up by doing cutbacks and blah, 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 blah. Everyone's fed up now. Everyone wants a pay rise because it's been years and years and years. But they've asked for a pay rise after a pandemic, after Brexit, and after a war, or during a war in Ukraine, when there's less money than normal. Even the Labour Party have said, we haven't got the money to pay what these people actually want, but they haven't given us any options of what they're going to do instead. So it was on a march, all saying they want, over 10%, some over 15% wage rises because they've been blah, 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 blah. And you're like, yeah, I get where you're coming from. Everyone deserves more money, but we haven't got the money to give it yet. So what do we do? And it's just going to be stalemate. But the Labour government say, well, what we'll do is we'll get rid of the non-dom status, and then all the tax we get from that we will then pay, the wages for these people. And you're like, right, okay then. But they're also using that money to set up the GB Energy. They're also using that money to complete levelling up, including HS2 and things like that, where the money's running out. They're also doing it to give people tax cuts. So they're spending this amount of money, which isn't, it's big, but it's not massive. They're spending it about 6 or 7 times, and you can't do that. Like I've said a couple of weeks ago, if you find, or if someone promises to give you 20 quid, because they owe it you, for example, and you think, oh, brilliant, I'm getting that 20 quid, I wasn't expecting that. I can go and get some food, or get some beers in, or I'll top up the electric, or I'll put some petrol in the car, or I'll treat myself to a new shirt, or whatever. You've spent it about 10 times. You literally spent about 100 quid for this 20 quid. And that's how Labour are doing as far as I can make out, the economy, if they become in power. And I'm terrified that Labour are going to get in with Keir Starmer. I don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of the Tories at all, but I'd sooner better the devil you know than have these muppets come in. I mean, who else in the shadow cabinet is any good? And the answer is no one. You've got shouty Angela Rayner, you've got our MP in Wigan, Lisa Nandy, who seems to spend more time not in Wigan, talking about stuff that's nothing to do with Wigan. I don't know what she's actually done for Wigan. And then the only one I do like is Wes Streeting. I think he's actually okay. But yeah, the rest of them, you're like, Jesus, better that. I'd sooner the Muppets we've already got than the new Muppets. But yeah, it's a confusing one. But we'll wait and see. Who knows? By the time the election comes along, I might be thinking, yeah, you've got to vote Labour. I mean, I voted Labour in the past. I voted Tory. I voted UKIP. I voted various different people. I've never voted Lib Dems though. I'm not stupid after all. In America, Tyree Nichols, the man who was killed by 5 black police officers at a random traffic stop, was laid to rest with a massive ceremony in his hometown, and it was attended by Kamala Harris, whom is the Vice President. And I don't think we've had someone from the American government attend a funeral of someone who's been murdered by the American police before, or if we have, it was done very quietly, or I forgot about it, one or the other. Meanwhile, back in the UK, and talking to government, Rishi under pressure now to suspend Dominic Raab. And again, I'm like, this is what you have to do. If someone's accused of something that's serious and they're in a job, okay, innocent till proved guilty, all that, I get that, but they can't stay in the job if there's multiple accusations about a similar thing from many different people. So what you need to do is suspend the person whilst the inquiry takes place, and then if the person is found not guilty, you reinstate them again, and it's all like, well, he's back, he did nothing wrong, whoopie-doopie-doo. Or if it's found that he did do wrong, then it's a case of right, he's not coming back, we've let him go, he's a backbencher now, we may remove the Tory whip as well, but you've got to be seen to be doing something, and not doing something is basically Rishi's problem. Now, Rishi has got friends in cabinet, didn't surround himself with as many friends as Liz Truss did, because he saw how badly that went, but it's got to be said that Zawali and Dominic Raab are some of his best buddies, and that's probably why he's not got rid of them. But you need to bite the bullet, and if they are mates and they understand they would say, yeah, you know, I don't want you to look bad because of something I may or may not, or something I've been accused of. Therefore, you know, put me on the backbenchers for now, get this inquiry done, I'll prove my innocence, and then I can come back and we can carry on as normal. But at the moment it just looks like Rishi's very weak, and you have to say that Kia is actually aiming correctly on this one. Now, a couple of weeks ago there was a tragedy with a young lady who was a dog walker being killed by the dogs that she was walking, and apparently they're all still in custody, although you can keep a dog in custody, I don't know. But there's another tragedy this week. This time a 4-year-old little girl was mauled to death by the pet dog. Apparently it was their pet dog as well, which has been destroyed, and the test being done to find out whether it was an illegal breed or not. But yeah, I mean, dogs are fantastic companions, and they're amusing and they're loving and all that kind of thing, but they've got to be trained. They've got to be shown, you know, how to behave, and if you don't train them and if you don't show them how they behave, they don't know. But at the end of the day, they're pack animals, they're wild animals, and they're obviously a lot stronger than a 4-year-old if riled. So it's an awful tragedy, but it should be a lesson to everyone, particularly if you've got, you know, larger dogs with young children, that you have to train the dogs to understand commands, even if it's just stop, cease, whatever it is they're doing. Okay, the girl might have been injured, but when a dog gets into a frenzy, oh, it's just horrendous. You just can't imagine the horror that went through the family, and is still going through the family now. Meanwhile, in Bolton, the Coliseum, not Bolton, sorry, Oldham, the Oldham Coliseum has been given out notice that from the end of March they will basically be shutting down due to the fact that they had funding from the government which has been reallocated to somewhere else, and they haven't got the money to actually continue entertaining the people of Oldham. Now, I'm pretty sure I've been to the Oldham Coliseum when I was a kid. I think I went for a pantomime. I think we went to two. I think one was in Stockport and one was in Oldham with school. And yeah, I'm not a big theatre goer, but I can appreciate that people enjoy it. And what I liked about this Oldham Coliseum is the fact that they kept the prices low so that local people could afford to take the kids or take your mum or your auntie or someone as a treat to the theatre. Because you go to Manchester or you go to London or wherever, and the prices of you know, shows that you go and see are ridiculously expensive. And yeah, okay, if you've got the money, that's fine, but to have a local amenity like this where people can go and watch, you know, live a live show on stage at a reasonable price, it seems a tragedy that that's been taken away from the people of Oldham. Hopefully someone will step in with lots of money and just sort it out for the people of Oldham, because yeah, like I say, I'm not a theatre goer, I'm not even a cinema goer, but I do appreciate that, you know, they do bring a lot of entertainment for people. So yeah, I'm with the theatre company saying we need to sort this out if we can. So that was Wednesday. What about Thursday? Well, I'll tell you what, I can't believe I can still remember to do all the typing as well. It's very, I impress myself sometimes. The interest rates have risen to 4%. So if you've got a mortgage, or if you're renting from a private landlord who's got a mortgage, then your cost of living is going up considerably. For a long while it was 0.5%, and then it went down to 0.25%, I think. But since the middle of last year, it has steadily increased to 4%. But it's not at the height it was, as you can see on the graph, of just short of 6%, which was round about January, February 07, which I remember, and it was not a great time to be a mortgage person. Mind you, opening your own business and not being successful for the first few years is not a great time to have a mortgage either. But yeah, interest rates have gone up. Now, the Bank of England said they put the interest rates up because they put the interest rates up. It means that it kind of brings down inflation, although I've never figured out quite how that works. Because if you've got less money, you're not going to buy some stuff, which I get, but surely you're better off buying stuff to keep the economy going. I don't know, it's confusing. It hurts my head when I think about it too much, so I don't think about it. I just try and pay whatever it is I need to pay. Meanwhile, a Russian captain, corporal, commander, whatever, has basically come out and said what's really going on with the Russian army and the invasion. He didn't want to. He threatened to leave the army on the day that they invaded Ukraine, and got told that he'd be basically sent to prison for a considerable length of time. I reckon they probably said worse than prison, to be fair. So he reluctantly fought against the Ukrainians, and then when he found an opportunity, he got injured, and then he got sent back to Russia, and then some resistance type people in Russia basically smuggled him out of the country, and now he's saying what's going on. And basically he said he saw people being tortured, Ukrainians being tortured, soldiers and not soldiers, including being blindfolded, having a gun placed against their forehead, being told that they're going to count down from 3 and then they're going to pull the trigger. All this kind of thing, threats of rape, theft, all this kind of stuff. And it just makes you think that the Russian army, I mean, this was the initial invasion, so this was the proper Russian army. Now we've got these people dragged out of prisons, and we've got these people conscripted from the streets of Russia to fight, who are not soldiers, who've not had proper training or anything. But if you can imagine, if the proper Russian soldiers were acting like this, what are the people who are now fighting acting like? It doesn't bear thinking about. It's horrendous, as are the profits of Shell. Now, Shell posts the highest in its history of profits of $38 billion, but the majority of that money, in fact 95% of it, is earned outside the United Kingdom, and they pay the various taxes or whatever wherever the money is earned, unlike Amazon and Starbucks, just saying. But they do pay their taxes, so whatever country they make the money in, they pay their tax there. So we're looking at getting about 5%, which is still a few £100 million of taxes from Shell, and possibly more as well, because the government are more than likely going to give them extra taxes because of the money they're making. The irony is, for a considerable length of time in the last few weeks, before I started going to Sainsbury's and Ashton under the Line, I was buying Shell petrol because it was the cheapest petrol around. So I've kind of added to their profits inadvertently, but I did buy the cheapest petrol. I don't think they were making much money on that. So I imagine BP are going to be doing the same, and all the other oil companies as well. So it feels like these companies are making money off the backs of us struggling to pay for the services that we need to exist. I mean, okay, Shell do some energy from home, but they're not a massive energy provider. But I can imagine British Gas, E.ON, and all them other companies are going to post record profits as well. And my argument with them is, why are they putting up the standing charge that you pay every day when they put the gas or electric prices up? Because it doesn't cost more to get the energy to someone's house, be it gas or electric, because that electric costs more. It doesn't cost more to send it somewhere. I don't understand how they're getting away with upping the standing daily charge by so much for no reason whatsoever, when they're hiking up the price of what you're actually using. So if you use a lot of gas willy-nilly, for example, then you're going to pay a lot more for your energy use, so you try and cut it down. But if you don't use any or very little gas, for example. So maybe you're one of them who turn the heating off, but you still pay a standing charge. You're still paying considerably more, even though you're not using any gas. And that can't be legal, particularly under the crisis that we're currently under. So I don't understand how they're getting away with it, and it infuriates me. I'll be honest with you. I am infuriated. Look. So yeah, if you listen on the podcast, I looked very infuriated at that moment into the camera. Again, a bit like what we had with the Hillsborough disaster, the police, over 30 years later, finally apologising for their mistakes. The Armagh bombing in Northern Ireland in the so-called Troubles, which killed 29 people, including a pregnant lady and her unborn baby, is now being put under a public inquiry. And to find out whether or not it could be done. It was done by the real IRA in 1998, and it was the biggest single atrocity within the entire Troubles, which is basically civil war, that ensued in the late 60s, 70s and 80s. And yeah, you can't imagine that something like that hasn't had an inquiry before now. You know, it's getting on for 25 years ago when this happened, and we're only just getting round to doing an inquiry. It's ridiculous. Anyway, hopefully, lessons will be learned and nothing like that will happen again. Talking of British Gas, which we were a moment ago, British Gas have said that they are no longer going to forcibly put pay as you go meters in, prepay meters in, into people's houses. And they're going to try and resolve any issues that people have got with the paying gas or electric or not, with other options. Now, as I mentioned before, when I first set up my business, I didn't make any money for a long while, so I got really behind with my electricity and gas bill. And yeah, they just broke into my house one day, and I come home a few years ago, and I had a prepay meter and a prepay gas, and there was a couple of warning letters, but there was no notification that they were coming. And they just come into the house and fitted them. And I'm like, right, okay then. So I've been at that end of it. I mean, to be fair, it kind of did help me in the fact that I did pay off all the debt that I owed over a period of time. And, you know, I'm now debt free from them. But I've still got the pay-as-you-go meter, gas and electric. And actually, this morning, well, early this afternoon when I woke up, I was watching the news and it went off, so I had to go out and top it up again. So yeah, forcing people who were on benefits, who were disabled or whatever, by breaking into the houses is yeah, I've experienced it, and it wasn't a pleasant feeling when you got home. You felt like you'd been burgled, I'll be honest with you. To be fair, nothing looked like it had been touched. But yeah, it just didn't feel, you know, I felt uncomfortable for a few days. Like I say, overall, it did help me. Friday. Now, Friday is the first day of the weekend. Whoop, whoop, whoop. What happened on Friday? Quite a lot, really. Mainly, balloon spotting became popular in America. This is a rather large balloon, which, depending who you listen to, is either a spy balloon. I mean, why the hell you'd have a balloon to spy with when it's so obviously visible? God knows. Or a weather balloon, which has gone out of control and been blown literally over the top of the globe from China to America. And I don't know what to make of it. I mean, what I find fascinating is the fact that it's obviously meant to be up there for a considerable length of time, because it's got solar panels on it. It's like something that's in space rather than anywhere else, and it's only 50,000 feet up in the air, and they reckon that as you can see there, the solar array either side, and then the middle, the round bit, is the main unit, which has got cameras in it and equipment for monitoring and all that kind of gubbins. Anyway, there's a big argument going on between America and China. Basically, the Americans were going to send over their foreign secretary to China this weekend, but he's not going now because they've spat the dummy out. They can't shoot it down because it's actually quite a sizable object and it could cause some serious damage if it landed where there were people. And plus, you don't know necessarily if there's anything in it that could be dangerous. I'm not saying chemical weapons or anything. I'm thinking more like maybe, you know, like a little nuclear reactor thing in there that's powering something or whatever. But either way, they can't shoot it down. So it's just got to stay up there. And apparently there is manoeuvrability with it as well. And although it's got allegedly blown around the planet, it managed to linger for quite a while, not too far away from a military airbase which has nuclear missiles at it. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. I don't know whether I'll mention it. Oh no, I will mention it later, so I won't say any more. There is an inquiry going on in the UK, infected blood inquiry. Basically, it's been going on for 4 years, and they've finally had the last piece of evidence given to them this week, well, on Friday, and they are now going to write a report as to what went wrong. Basically, haemophiliacs and similar people with blood conditions were given blood from donors who weren't necessarily tested or verified, and some of them had HIV, AIDS, and some of them had hepatitis B and C. So healthy people, apart from the haemophilia that they had, then became contaminated en masse. We're not talking a few people here, we're talking hundreds if not thousands of people, many of whom have died, because this was in the 70s and 80s when they got the blood transfusions. But once you get these diseases, you cannot get rid of them. You've got them for life, and they're on medication. They affect everything about your life, whether you can work or not. It's just horrendous that the NHS put all this blood into people but didn't check where the blood was coming from. But anyway, we'll find out later on this year what the result of the inquiry is. Now, things have changed since then. Obviously, blood is tested on a regular basis, and there's nothing like that going on now, but we still need to learn from mistakes made to stop mistakes happening in the future. Another mistake that the government have done is with disabled people, they changed the benefits and put them on universal credit, and a lot of people lost a lot of money. Some people were losing as much as 180 quid a month, which is a lot of money, particularly if you're disabled. So they fought it in courts, and over the last couple of years it's been going on. Anyway, the courts have ruled against the government and for the disabled people, which means the government will have to pay out millions of pounds in compensation and overdue payments to many thousand disabled people who they basically ripped off when they changed them over to universal credits. So yep, fair play. A week last Friday, this young lady disappeared. She's 45 years old, and I've not got her name here, which is a bit annoying. And she was walking on the footpath of the River Wire, not far from where I am actually, and just disappeared. And it's a very bizarre case. She was seen by a couple of dog walkers whilst walking her dog after dropping the kids off at school. She then joined a call on a phone about a work call, so like a conference call on a mobile while she's walking the dog, which is one of the joys of working from home, I suppose, that you can do that kind of thing. But she never logged off the call. The phone was found on a bench, and her dog was found off the lead in the same area, and she's just completely vanished. Now, there's a number of things that could have happened here. Obviously, she could have been attacked. The police have said yesterday, a week on, that what they think's happened is that she's fallen into the river and been washed out to sea. But I would imagine if you fall into a river, you're going to scream and shout out. and I cannot imagine that no one would hear her. I mean, okay, I walk along the canal, doing my Leeds-Liverpool canal walks, which is a similar kind of thing, but it's not a flowing river, it's a still water canal. And I might not see people for a while, but I would imagine that if I fell into the canal, I would hopefully survive long enough to actually, get attention of a cyclist going past, or a dog walker or someone like that. I know a flowing river is different, but it does seem strange. And the other one is that no one's mentioned, but she's just chosen to disappear. Now I can't imagine she's done that, because she sent an email to work as well, apparently, before the conference call. But she's got 2 young daughters who she dropped off at school, and what would put you into a mental state where something like that would happen? It's very confusing. And yeah, Angela, I hope it does turn out for the best, and I hope, with all my heart, that they do find her, and the police are wrong saying what they're saying about it. But it's been a week, and let's be honest, the weather has not been warm, so if she has fallen in the river, I fear the worst. But until we know the worst, we will keep our fingers crossed for all her family and friends, particularly her 2 young daughters, like I say, who'll be missing the mum like crazy. It's absolutely horrible. Going back to the United Kingdom strikes, in Wales, they have basically suspended the strikes because the Welsh government have come up with a better offer. It's not the offer that the strikers want, but they've suspended the strikes while they go and talk to the government and see if they can come to some arrangements and agreement as to what is going on. And again, fingers crossed that happens. Now, Mason Greenwood is a Manchester United football player, or he was anyway, well, he technically still is. He was accused last year of rape, assault, imprisonment and various other things as well. And he was suspended by the club. He's not played or trained with the club since, and then he's been held on bail, etc., for getting on for 12 months now. But all the charges now have been dropped. Key witnesses have pulled out, and it all seems, again, a bit strange, but he's not been charged with anything. He's not been found guilty of anything, but now there's a big kerfuffle on of whether he can play for Man United again. Now, I'm not saying he did or didn't do anything, and I'm certainly not justifying anything that he was accused of. However, if you are innocently accused of something, then surely you have the option and the chance to be able to get back to your life, whatever that life is, without people looking at you thinking, you are a blah 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 blah. Again, British justice is innocent till proven guilty. United did the right thing. Rishi could learn a few things from United in this one. They suspended him. They even stopped him training with the team, and all that kind of thing. But it's all gone now, rightly or wrongly. But he's not been charged, not been accused. He's been accused, but he's not been charged, and he's not been found guilty of anything. So I think personally he should be able to be allowed to carry on playing for United. There was some woman on the news yesterday saying that if he is, then she's not going to watch United play again. And I'm like, there's no proof that he's actually done anything wrong. There's these accusations that can be made very easily. Anyone can make an accusation about anyone about anything. Doesn't make it true. And it's not been proven to be true. The police have obviously looked into it over the last 12 months. They're not just sat on their hands. So if they've decided that there's not enough to charge Mason Greenwood with, then surely he should be allowed to get back to his life and get back to playing football for the team that he signed for. But there's now rumours that they're just going to pay him off. There's 2 years left on his contract and not let him play. And I'm like, it's a tricky one. Yes, I know, if people do things wrong, they should be punished from it if they're found guilty. But if you're not found guilty and all the charges have been dropped, then what are you suspending him for? why are you keeping the suspension? So again, we'll watch this with interest. Obviously, there's a new owner possibly for Manchester United coming along, and we'll see how they handle it. But for the time being, he's still not allowed to train, and he's still not allowed to play for the team. And obviously, if he's unfit now, and he's not good enough to play with the team, well, that's a different story. But I personally think, if someone accuses you of something and then it all kind of disappears for whatever reason, then and the police are happy that nothing needs to progress any further, then you should be allowed to get on with your life. Anyway, that's something to debate, and not everyone will agree with me on that one, but that's the whole problem with it. The whole thing about this, it's a debate, and we decide what we think. Saturday. Now Saturday is today, just in case you hadn't noticed. China have called for cool heads over the handling of the spy balloons. There's another one appeared, and this one is over South America, which seems a little bit bizarre, why they want to spy so blatantly over these places. The thing is, we all know that everyone's got spy satellites, and everyone's looking at everyone else's country, and they'll be doing it for decades with these spy satellites. And obviously the imaging's got better now, so instead of these fuzzy black and white pictures, you can now, and I wouldn't say you can pick out individual humans or vehicles or anything like that, but you can certainly see a lot more now than you could 30 years ago. And some people are saying, but the balloons, if they've got like 4K cameras on them and they're only 50,000 feet off the ground, they're a lot nearer than a satellite, and therefore they can get a lot more information, and you'll be able to pick out individual people on the ground. You won't be able to identify them because all you see is the top of their head unless they're looking up, but even then I don't think you'll be able to identify them. But obviously structures, buildings, that kind of thing. So it's now progressing, and people are saying that China is embarrassed by this, but I can't imagine China being embarrassed by anything. But they are saying that it's a weather balloon that's got lost. And then it turns out that there are thousands of these things floating around in the upper atmosphere. And we know ourselves that TV shows in the past and YouTube YouTubers, people who are influencers on YouTube, have sent random stuff up to space, including a pie from Wigan, or a glove, or a helmet, or even themselves, and then jumped off the balloon, i.e. that guy did it a few years ago for Red Bull, who the highest base jump in history, and it probably never be beaten because basically he was on the edge of space. So yeah, there's hundreds of these things, but the courtesy is to say, look, to a neighbouring country, we've got one of these balloons up, we think it may pass into your area, it's a weather balloon, blah de blah de blah, and everyone's fine with it because they go, the wind, upper wind blows in all directions, so you don't necessarily know where you're going to end up. But America is still insisting that these are spy balloons. It just sounds ridiculous saying spy balloons. It just does. It just sounds. I feel like Nana's going to pop up in a minute and go, yeah, but Germany's got 99 red balloons. But yeah, Latin America. Why would you want to send one over Latin America? What have they got? Apart from the drugs, I suppose. I don't know. Anyway, we'll wait and see how that pans out. That's going to be for next week, isn't it? Or maybe over the weekend. On Sunday we'll find something out. Strikes in the NHS have caused around 90,000 appointments to be cancelled, including operations. And they're not helping with the waiting times that people have got for standard stuff. And you're like, well, that's obvious, isn't it? If you've got multiple strikes going on, if you've got ambulances not picking people up, if you've got nurses not doing looking after people who are having cataracts done, for example, or anything like that, then obviously the waiting lists are going to build up. There needs to be an agreement on both sides, but neither side seems to be prepared to accept what the other side's saying. So we're at stalemate, so these strikes are just going to continue. Like I said before, we need Nightingale wards. So office blocks that are not being used, put beds in there. We know we've got the beds because we have the Nightingale hospital, so was some beds in there. Stick some recently retired doctors, some trainee doctors and nurses in there, volunteers preferably as well, who can look after people, keep them safe, fed, watered, monitored. If there's any complications, whiz them back into hospital. Otherwise, it frees up beds. So if people can't get home because they haven't got the social care there, they can go into one of these wards. They've had a hip replacement, they're out of danger. Rather than staying in hospital for however many days they stay in hospital, take them to one of these wards. They can be looked after there. That bed's free. We can do another hip operation. It's not rocket science, Rishi. Come on, sort it out, mate. I said we've got an adult in charge of the government for the first time in a very long while. But yeah, he's not delivering, is he? Yet, let's be honest. Someone who has delivered is Sean Jaish. Sean Jaish has popped up. Oh, the USA have shot a balloon down over the Atlantic, apparently. So, which one would that? That'd probably be the one over Thingamabob. But yeah, what they'll do is they'll go and pick it up now and find out what's in it. So breaking news, a balloon has been shot down over the Atlantic. So we can find our balloon picture. Bye-bye! And we can go, balloon shot down over the Atlantic. Thank you, T. But yeah, interested to see how big it is as well. I'm fascinated now, so we may find more out tomorrow. So you'll have to join us next week for what week that was to find out what it was, if you don't watch the news. Anyway, Sean Dyche, Everton, his first match in charge, and they were up against the, basically, storming in the lead, from nowhere, Arsenal, who were in the lead of the Premiership, and obviously Everton at the bottom. Sean Dyche just took over, and you're like, oh well, never mind. There'll be another match where you can win. But no, they actually won the first match. So, well done, Everton. Congratulations. You are genii, Sean Dyche. But we knew that anyway, about Sean Dyche. So, fingers crossed, Everton can be saved from relegation. I mean, like I say, I'm not a massive football fan, but I do feel for the Evertonians, because Everton have never been out of the Premiership since it started, and I don't think they've been out of Division 1 either, when it was the top division. So yeah, fingers crossed it all sorts itself out and they actually survive. And who knows where Sean might take them. Might take them for a curry or something, that'd be nice. Anyway, that is it for UK. What about meanwhile in America? Well, meanwhile in America, they've shot down a balloon, as we've just found out. Thank you, 415. They've shot down a balloon, and all is good. There we go. I couldn't click on my thing then. Couldn't click on my little spinny thing. It kept spinning around. I'm like, stop spinning around. I want to click on you. Anyway, I clicked on it now. So yeah, USA news. There's a lot of USA news this week. I mean, a lot, and I'm not sure necessarily they're going to be in the right order due to the fact that we've had a month change. So just bear with us on this one. So we'll start off with this first story. Jackson, Mississippi is preparing, this is America is preparing to go without water periodically for up to 10 years. They are prepared to have no water for 10 years. Organisations in Jackson, Mississippi are asking for help from other states as the water crisis dries up resources. It's been over 5 months since the Pearl River crested and Jackson's Mississippi water system failed. Now crews are working to replace the pipe system, but families and businesses are prepared to go without water periodically for up to 10 years. Cities around the country are also replacing their fragile water systems that they've got as well. It does make you think, what were they built with back in the day? I mean, our water systems are Victorian, and many of them are still going strong. So it seems strange that America, many cities have been built since Victorian times, are not actually capable of having water that actually works. Water pipe system that works. It's just weird. Hi Krish, I've been waiting for someone to come on, mate, but no one's been on to play F1. So I was looking all weekend, and I've been looking here, there and everywhere. I've been gutted because I've had to play some really crappy games where the cars ghost, and I hate ghosting cars on a Formula 1 game. The whole point of Formula 1 is that you've got the risk of crashing into someone, and that's part of the fun for me. But yeah, I do want to go back on it again, Krish, so yeah, leave it with us. Just keep an eye out when you're online. Currently doing though what week that was, so I'm currently talking about new stuff, but it's nice to hear from you and whatnot. You shouldn't play F1 at 2 AM in the morning. I don't just play F1 at 2 o'clock in the morning, I start playing it around midnight. Australian dad of 2 dies from snakebite in front of wife before paramedics arrive. Now this is, many reasons why we'll never go to Australia. A father has tragically died from suspected venomous snakebite at a private property in Queensland. The man, aged in his 60s, was reportedly bitten on his hand at Lockyer Valley, about 50 kilometres from Brisbane, at 10 AM on Saturday. Father of 2 died before paramedics arrived. See, they've got paramedic problems. People won't join because viewers would be asleep. You'd be surprised. My viewers are up all night, every night. They love it. Possible motive in Half Moon Bay mass shooting has been revealed. The disgruntled worker charged with killing 7 people at 2 mushroom farms in Northern California possibly carried out the rampage over a $100 bill for damaged equipment. Yeah, that seems reasonable to get a gun out and kill 7 people, doesn't it? Not America. Sort your gun laws out. A snowless New York City breaks 50-year record for longest winter without flurries. New York City has been given the cold shoulder, foregoing the white Christmas this winter. The Big Apple settled for flurries that turned into rain before hitting the pavement. No snowball flights or anything like that, but tell you what, there's more of that later on. Illegal crossings at freezing Canadian border surged during migrant crisis. So not only have they got people trying to get in at the Mexican-American border, but they've also got them trying to get out of the American border into Canada. No, it's the other way around, sorry. Border Patrol's agents in New York, Vermont and New Hampshire apprehended more people illegally entering the US from Canada in the last 3 months than in the previous 2 years combined. Officials in the federal agency Eastern Swanton sector saw a 743% increase in apprehensions. Doesn't mean there are more people coming across, it just means they're catching more. Canadian theatre sparks outrage after pronouncing black-only performances. Now again, I kind of see where they're coming from, but I also see where other people are coming from as well. It's very complicated. Taxpayer-funded Canadian theatre organisation has sparked outrage after announcing an event that will only allow black identifying audiences to attend. So it's not just the artists, the audiences too. So, but surely this day and age, anyone could say that they think of themselves or recognise themselves as being black, or I don't know. It gets so confusing. A 2-year-old shot in the face and a man killed in Baltimore gunfire. America, sort your king gun laws out. A man was killed and a 2-year-old was shot in the face when gunshots rang out in Baltimore on Saturday, officials said. Police responded to reports of reports of shots fired shortly after 6:30 PM near Pennsylvania Avenue in the city's uptown neighbourhood. Absolutely horrendous, America. Why can't you see what the rest of the world can see? And that is gun crime is an American pandemic. Boy playing hide and seek found it in another country 6 days later. Now that is one good hide and seek player. Just keep going, never stop. A 15-year-old boy accidentally locked himself inside a shipping container during a game of hide and seek and was discovered a week later in another country. The teen from Bangladesh, identified only by his first name, Fahim, was playing with friends in the port city of Chittagong on January the 11th. Is that really a name, Chittagong? Where he hid inside the container and fell asleep. I mean, to survive 7 days in that, that is quite scary. That he survived that long. I can only assume he drank condensation water from the inside. Iran reports drone attack on defence facility in Isfahan. Drones attacked an Iranian defence factory in the central city of Isfahan overnight, the state-run IRNA news agency reported early on Sunday. It carried the Defence Ministry statement saying the attack occurred late on Saturday and caused minor damage to a rooftop. Basically, that's someone trying to stop them making drones, isn't it, to give to Russia to then bomb innocent people in Ukraine. Barack Michelle Obama issued a statement of unjustified beating of Tyre Nichols. President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle tweeted a somber reminder on Saturday about the brutality of America after horrific footage of the fatal beating of Tyre Nichols emerged. The vicious, unjustified beating of Tyre Nichols. Right, we're back. Don't know what happened then. Did you see the Obama thing? I don't know whether you did or not. But yeah, basically saying that America's still got a long way to go to sort out policing. 3 dead after a gunman opens fire in Ritzy, LA neighbourhood. America, sort your gun laws out. 3 people were killed and 4 others injured after a gunman opened fire at an Airbnb in a Ritzy, Los Angeles neighbourhood on Saturday, marking the city's 4th mass shooting this week. America, sort your gun laws out. I've got 100 to get through, so I'm rattling through this. A Memphis police elite Scorpion unit shut down after fatal Tyre Nichols beating. That's the woman who dresses herself up to look right nice when she's being interviewed about something where a police officer has murdered an innocent man. Anyway, a Memphis cop elite Scorpion unit involved in the fatal beating of 29-year-old Tyre Nichols earlier this month have been shut down because of the heinous actions of a few. Rightly so. Donald Trump, what's he up to? Democrats offer 8.7% pay hike for federal workers to make up for suffering through Trump. Democrats are proposing give federal workers 8.7% pay increase for toiling through the Trump administration and the coronavirus pandemic. The suggested pay increase for the 2 million federal workers will take effect in 2024 and will come after they received a 4.6% raise this year. Trump basically costing the taxpayer money even though he's not in office. A man breaks into home, takes bath with clothes on. You're like, what? Why would you take a bath out of a home? But no, he actually gets into the bath. A burglar was found fully clothed, enjoying a soak in a bathtub of the Seattle house he broke into on Friday night. The female homeowner returned to her house to find a window had been smashed and then spotted the prowler lurking inside. She remained outside, called the cops, who eventually searched the home and discovered the unidentified clothed suspect relaxing in a bathtub of water. Whatever. A 4-year-old walks into DC hospital with gunshot wounds, police say. America, you know what I do. A 4-year-old girl walked into a Washington DC hospital with a gunshot wound on Saturday. The girl was breathing unconscious at the time of her arrival. Well, that she would be if she was walking, but anyway. But police have not released any further updates on the child's condition. 4-year-olds getting shot. 2-year-olds getting shot. We're all just getting into American stuff. Out of this world discovery in Antarctica. Scientists say they found a space rock for the ages in Antarctica, and an extremely rare meteorite that contains some of the oldest material in the solar system. And they said, when we saw this one just sitting by itself in the middle of the blue ice, we got excited. The 17-pound meteorite, described as about the size of a gourd, was discovered by an international team at the end of an 11-day expedition. America, sorry, your gun laws out. Thank you, Angela. Defo. Meanwhile, Trump weighs in on brutal beatdown of Tyre Nichols. Former President Donald Trump says the fatal beating of Tyre Nichols by Memphis cops never should have happened. Trump 76 added the video of officers allegedly murdering Nichols in a vicious beatdown was horrible, joining the large number of leaders from President Biden on condemning the attack of the 29-year-old FedEx worker and dad of 4-year-old boy. I thought it was terrible, said Donald Trump. For once he talks sense. A North Carolina boy, 14, dies at rodeo after being thrown off and stomped by a bull. So a 14-year-old North Carolina boy died at a rodeo after being thrown off a bull and then which then stomped on his chest, authorities have said. Denim Bradshaw was taking part in the Rafter K rodeo at the American Legion Post in the city of King when he was thrown off the beast on Saturday night. A horrendous tragedy. I know Americans do all this rodeo stuff, but a 14-year-old on a back of a bull? I mean, surely there's got to be some kind of age thing on these things. I know they put kids out on calves and all that kind of thing, but surely you don't put a 14-year-old out on a bull that an adult would struggle with. China COVID deaths halve as officials signal wave nearing end. China's current COVID-19 surge appears to be tapering off with no significant increase in infections during the Lunar New Year holiday and number of deaths sharply dropping, health officials said. Well, we can trust everything China says, can't we? So there you go, guys and girls, everything's sorted. FVP. NYPD cars vandalised with the anti-cop slogan in third straight day of attacks. 2 police cars were spray painted with the anti-cop slogan FTP on their windshields at Brooklyn early Monday, the 4th attack in New York Police Department property since late Saturday. The pair of vandalised patrol cars were discovered outside Brooklyn Borough Hall at 4:30 a.m. with the latter standing for F the Police printed on them in red. Big news. We've already covered that, SJ. We've already covered it. I covered it, even though I don't cover football, because I knew you'd be happy. Zelensky pleads for more Russian weapons faster as Russian ramps up attacks. President Vladimir Zelensky appealed to Ukraine's Western allies to send new weapons faster to confront very tough, relentless attacks by Russian forces in the east. The situation is very tough in sectors of Donetsk region. There are constant Russian attacks, there are constant attempts to break through our defences, Zelensky said in his nightly video address on Sunday. And we are sending loads more weapons, but I don't agree with sending jets. Come to that later. A boy, 17, fatally shot in New York City amid spike in teen gun violence. America, sort your effing gun laws out. And while you're about it, sort your effing police out as well. A 17-year-old boy was fatally shot in East Harlem on Sunday, the latest teen to succumb to gun violence in the city. Dominique Allen was blasted in the chest at 5:15 p.m. The motive for the killing is unclear. When cops responded to the scene for shots fired, Allen had already been taken to Harlem Hospital where he was pronounced dead. Absolute tragedies going on every day in America, and I don't understand why Americans can't see what the rest of us can see. A 13-year-old charged with murdering teen after school. A 13-year-old boy has been charged with murdering an older Brooklyn teen during an after-school fight over a girl. The two other boys, aged 14 and 15, and both previously felony arrested, were busted with heinous crimes acts as well, charged with assault and gang assault raps. Police said the 3 young accused hoods turned themselves into police on Sunday night for the fatal stabbing of a 17-year-old high school student. Just horrendous. Doctor accused of intentionally driving Tesla off cliff is moved to jail. I remember a few weeks ago we had this miracle where a Tesla car fell off a bridge, a cliff, sorry, but everyone in the car survived, and we were saying how well the cars must be built. But it now turns out the doctor and father is accused of intentionally driving his Tesla off the California cliff with his family inside. He's been released from hospital and sent to jail. Yeah, hopefully it's not that. Hopefully he is innocent, but if it isn't, that's just horrendous. The Tyree Nichols fundraiser tops $1 million in just 2 days, 100 times the goal that they asked for. An online fundraiser for Tyree Nichols' family has raised more than $1 million in just 2 days. Nichols' mum started the GoFundMe with the modest goal of getting $10,000 for mental health treatment and to create a memorial skateboard park for a 29-year-old son who was massively into skateboarding, who died after being brutally beaten by Memphis cops. Rats. Battery Park City uses dry ice to kill vermin. They're icing out rats in Battery Park City. Local maintenance crews are dumping dry ice in the pesky rodents' burrows in the trendy Lower Manhattan neighbourhood so that when it melts, it leaves behind carbon dioxide which suffocates them. It's an interesting idea, and it's chemical free, but it's carbon dioxide, and what does carbon dioxide do? But interesting concept. Just means there's lots of dead rats underground. 3 women, including 2 mums, ID'd as victims of the shooting in the LA suburb. 2 young mothers were among 3 victims identified in the mass shooting at the rental home in the ritzy Los Angeles neighbourhood over the weekend. Yeah, I mean, people are dying for no reason whatsoever because of these guns that are everywhere. Trump says public education taken over by pink-haired communists and plans to give power back to parents if re-elected. Former President Donald Trump on Friday released a video blasting public education for being taken over by radical left maniacs and vowed to give power back to the parents. Here's my plan to restore power to American parents. First, we cut federal funding for any school or program pushing critical race theory, gender ideology or other inappropriate racial, sexual or religious beliefs. So, appealing to his core demographic, I suppose. Footage captures a boulder nearly crushing a woman inside her Honolulu home. A massive boulder crashed into a Hawaii home over the weekend, narrowly missing a woman inside. The dramatic footage shows the video capturing the woman walking down the hallway inside a hillside Honolulu house when the boulder breaks through the wall a mere feet away from her, creating a trail of destruction. I mean, talk about not being your time. Very impressive timing for her anyway. 10 wounded, 2 critical in drive-by shooting in Central Florida. America. Sort your fucking gun laws out. 10 people were injured on Monday after a drive-by shooting in Central Florida neighbourhood. Police Chief Sam Taylor said during a news conference that 2 of the victims were critically injured, while the wounds of the other 8 victims were considered life-threatening. The victims were males between the ages of 20 and 35, about 50 miles east of Tampa. But they think this is normal. But oh, hang up, this is normal. A mysterious spiral formation appears among stars above Hawaii. And you're like, that's BS. A mysterious spiral formation was spotted in the night sky above Hawaii earlier this week, sparking curiosity among observers. The spectacle, initially spotted by an observatory in Manukini on January the 18th, first looked like a travelling bright star before it morphed shapes. It grew into a larger blob before it transformed into a dot with a spinning spiral around it. Footage taken from the observatory shows the thing. I'm thinking it might just be that meteorite that came past, but there you go. Do you not get bored by talking about shootings in America? It does get a bit repetitive, I'll be honest with you, but I mean, hopefully someone in America sees these and thinks, hang on a minute, this weird old guy in the United Kingdom's got a point. Memphis Fire Department fires 3 following Tyree Nichols' death. 3 members of the Memphis, Tennessee Fire Department were fired on Monday after an investigation into the death of Tyree Nichols revealed they failed to conduct an adequate patient assessment on the victim. I mean, it just goes from bad to worse. You've got the cops beating someone up, and then the people who are there to assess the damage they've done, don't do it properly. Biden claims he had Amtrak train key and rode home 15% of the time with engineers. And I don't even know what that means. I know what Amtrak are. They're like British Rail or Northern Rail or whatever you want to call them. President Biden claimed on Monday that he had an Amtrak train key when he was a senator and would ride about 15% of the time with engineers on trips home to Delaware. So basically, they let him sit in the cab like he was, I don't know, a TV personality or something. But there's more Biden stuff. President Biden to end COVID-19 emergencies on May the 11th. President Joe Biden informed Congress on Monday that he will end the twin national emergencies of addressing COVID-19 on May the 11th, as most of the world has returned closer to normality nearly 3 years after the emergencies were first declared. So I thought America had got pretty much back to normal again, but apparently not. Biden's been a bit cautious on it. Americans name the US worst problem, and it's not inflation or immigration. Americans now say the lack of leadership from President Biden and the Congress is the country's biggest problem, outpacing inflation and immigration crisis and the state of the economy, according to a poll released on Monday. Despite Americans getting sucked in the wallets, the government's poor leadership took over the number one spot from inflation over the last year. Yeah, America, we know what you're. We know where you are. We feel your pain. We really do. Joe Biden says no to F-16 fighters jets for Ukraine. President Biden on Monday flatly ruled out providing F-16 fighters jets to Ukraine in its war against Russia, even as Moscow has stepped up its attacks to try and break Kyiv's resolve. I agree, we should not be sending jets, fighter planes to Ukraine. What we need to send them is more anti-aircraft guns. If we start sending fighter planes there, we are ramping up this so much. I agree with the tanks, but I don't agree with F-13s or the Eurofighter or anything like that going to Ukraine. No. 2 monkeys taken from Dallas Zoo in latest suspicious events. So something weird going on in the Dallas Zoo, as you know. We've been following this for the last few weeks. 2 monkeys were taken from Dallas Zoo on Monday, police said. The latest in a string of odd incidents at the attraction being investigated, including fences being cut, suspicious death of an endangered vultures, amongst other things in the past few weeks. No arrests have been made in any of the investigations, and police have not said whether the incidents are linked. It's one zoo, it's in a few weeks, and there's weird shit going on. These cases are linked, but more about them later. Real estate agents vanish en masse as market slows, even in once white-hot Miami. Real estate brokers, estate agents to me and you, are heading for the door in droves as the nation's housing market cools, even the usually scorched market of Miami. The number of active agents in the Florida city plunged by 36% in the fourth quarter last year compared to the same span in 2021. So basically, real estate everywhere is just going through the floor, real estate being the housing market. And again, we wait to see with bated breath what's going to happen there. US-Russian aircraft have 3 near misses over the Mediterranean Sea. Russian fighter jets nearly collided with US Navy surveillance aircraft over the Mediterranean Sea on 3 separate occasions in the past weekend. So yeah, things are not hotting up anywhere, are they? Let's be honest. And that's why we should be sending jets to Ukraine. Omaha cops thwart active shooter armed with AR-15 and plenty of ammunition inside a Target store. Nebraska cops thwarted an active shooter who began firing off rounds of ammunition inside an Omaha Target before he was gunned down on Tuesday afternoon. The suspect, armed with an AR-15 rifle, sent shoppers and workers fleeing for cover when he began shooting inside the megastore at 12 p.m. America. Yeah. Cheesecake, chicken soup, and poison. How a dominatrix was charged with attempted murder. It's like a thriller from Russia with poison. Victoria Nazarov, 47, is on trial in Queens this week, charged with trying to kill a doppelganger with tranquilized laced cheesecake and chicken soup as part of a sinister identity theft plot. She's quite a manipulative person, from what I can tell, said the private investigator Herman Weisberg, who tracked down the Russian-born woman. Yeah, she's a dominatrix. She's going to be quite manipulative. You have to be manipulative to be a dominatrix. It comes with the job. So I'm told. Meanwhile, President Biden calls global warming a bigger threat to humanity than nuclear war. No poo Sherlock. President Biden gave Manhattan donors an update on his thoughts about nuclear war Tuesday, saying that he currently views global warming as a greater threat, less than 4 months after he casually told a different set of New York donors that the world was close to nuclear Armageddon. Global warming is the single most existential threat to humanity we have ever faced, including the possible nuclear warfare. To be fair, global warming is a global thing, whereas nuclear war, although would be horrendous, wouldn't necessarily affect the entire globe instantly. Biden's physical set for February the 16th as White House misses January deadline. Now you wouldn't think that the White House have got a lot to do, so you would imagine that the president, who's, let's be honest, a little bit dipsy at times, his medical would be up there as a high priority. But no. President Biden will get his annual physical on February the 16th, the White House said on Wednesday, after promising the checkup would be completed by the end of January. When asked by reporters for an update on January the 20th, the White House press secretary answered he will have one before the end, by a time at the end of this month is out. But no, it's going to be now in the end of February. And I'm sure he'll pass with flying colours. Missing pea-size radioactive capsule found in Australian outback. Basically, the Australians lost radioactive capsule that was the size of a pea in Australia. I mean, talk about needle in a haystack. It was like, they actually say here, it was like finding a needle in a haystack if the needle was a radioactive capsule the size of a pea, and the haystack was an 870-mile road in the Australian outback. They recovered the missing tiny but potentially deadly device that fell off a truck last month along an outback highway. Search crews had spent 6 days scouring the entire length of the highway using specialist Geiger counters. A Florida man bites off pet python's head in fight. A Florida man has been arrested for allegedly biting the head off a pet python in the middle of a domestic dispute. He's accused of sinking his teeth into the snake after he got into an argument with a woman in an apartment early on Monday. Cops encountered the decapitated python after they responded to reports of domestic incident just after 5:30 a.m. Evening, Elder. Loving your budget meals. I've got 4 that I've already recorded that I'll be putting up tomorrow, including my first ever curries, which are dairy free. I don't make curries because they're not dairy free. So yeah, they're coming up in the next 24 hours or so. And I've got a comparison video on Crumpet as well, which has got more finale moments in it than a Carry On movie. So yes. New York City gets the first snow of the season after breaking a 50-year record. I told you it would happen. No worries, Danielle. Better late than never, New York City saw its first measurable snowfall of the season Wednesday morning after breaking the record earlier this week for the longest snowless season for 50 years. Nearly half an inch of snow coated Central Park as a weak low pressure darted across, and all the New Yorkers came out and got very excited over a bit of snow. Yeah, welcome to New York. A dismembered human penis found at Alabama gas station. And you're like, what? A shocked customer at an Alabama gas station found a human penis in the parking lot, according to cops. The dismembered member was found shortly. Sorry, it's just the way they worded that. The dismembered member was found shortly after 6 a.m. Monday at a gas station on on Interstate 10 in Mobile, according to local newspapers. It cited multiple sources. However, the Mobile Police Department told the outlet that the shocking discovery was not being investigated as an assault or criminal activity. Words fail me. Absolutely fail me. Ex-Memphis cops charged in Tyree Nichols' death have disciplinary records. Now, we've got a similar thing going on in the UK, not police murdering people willy-nilly, but the Met Police in particular have hired police officers, and they've gone through checks which have not been good enough, and they're now looking into it, and they're doing it countrywide. 2 of the 5 former Memphis cops arrested on the beating death of Tyree Nichols were previously reprimanded for failing to file reports about using force while making arrests. 2 others have also disciplinary records with suspensions. They've already been caught using excessive force, and they're still allowed to go out and use excessive force on people. Andrew Tate yells, "You know I'm innocent," as he arrives to fight detention in Romania. Accused sex trafficking rapist Andrew Tate, I mean, they go in all guns blazing, don't they? Again declared his innocence when he arrived at court in Romania on Wednesday for his latest bid to get out of jail. The incendiary influencer shouted at reporters as he was led out of a prison van while handcuffed to his younger brother. The brothers and 2 co-accused, the influencer's rumours girlfriend and female ex-cop, were again remanded for 30 days in Romanian prisons whilst investigations continued. How's his biggest fan doing? You alright, Sean? A 12-year-old boy shot inside lobby of New York City apartment building. America. For sake, sort out your kind of laws. A 12-year-old boy was shot inside the lobby of a Brooklyn apartment building on Tuesday night, police said. The preteen suffered a gunshot wound to the left shoulder around 9:20 p.m. Inside the lobby. It's unclear whether the shooting was intentional or accidental. The fact the shooting happened at all is preventable if you sort out your gun laws. The youngster was taken to the medical centre in stable condition, and police are investigating the incident. But no words. Las Vegas tourist pulls man out from car seconds before it burst into flames. An alleged drunk driver owes his life to a tourist and a Las Vegas cop who ripped him out of his car just seconds before it burst into flames. A shocking video of the rescue shows 2 men running up to the smoking sedan after it smashed into a median and a palm tree on the Las Vegas Strip at around 4:30 p.m. Now that's where they're going to do the F1 racing. I don't know if it's this year or next year. So hopefully they sort out the median and everything for the F1 cars, because they go a lot faster than, well, it's like a Tesla or something similar. Interestingly, after 2 o'clock this morning, I was downstairs watching telly, and I got a knock on the door, and I'm like, who's knocking on the door at this time? And to be fair, it's usually the police. They've either got the wrong house, or they're looking for someone who stayed here for a short period of time. It's complicated. But it wasn't. It was one of my neighbours, and he said, "Do you want to move your car?" And I went, "Why?" He said, "Because the car next to it's on fire." And I went, "What?" And I looked up, and the car behind my car was smoking like crazy. And I'm like, "Oh, okay then." So I got the key and I moved the car, and then went to do like you normally do and investigate. And there was pummels of smoke going out. The car alarm was going off. The lights were flashing on and off. So it was obviously some kind of electrical fire in this vehicle. And yeah, the fire brigade turned up, put it out and all that. But yeah, a little bit of drama at like 2:30 in the morning. Good fun. Not really, but anyway, yeah, no one was hurt. That's the main thing. And the fire was, well, the smoke was put out. I don't think it was actually a fire as such. The fire brigade got here pretty quick, to be fair, to put it out. So yeah. Boris Johnson urges US to give Ukraine what they need as fast as possible. Boris, you're not the Prime Minister. Boris, you are not the Prime Minister. Boris, shut the cup. Former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson called on the US to give Ukraine what they need as fast as possible, a day after President Biden ruled out the possibility of sending F-16 fighters jets to the war-torn nation. This is not the moment to delay any support for Ukraine. This is the moment to double down on our support, give them what they need, whether it's tanks or the long-range artillery fires. We had a thing recently for a certain ex-prince, current prince, I don't know, and it was Shut Up Harry. Well, I think we've got a new one now, which is Shut Up Boris, for fuck's sake. Biden touts New York City and New Jersey train tunnel, but it won't be built before 2035, which means he'll be long gone. I'll be long gone by then as well, probably. President Biden vowed on Tuesday that there's finally light at the end of the tunnel for the 200,000 often delayed city-bound train riders, but it's still more than a decade away. During a speech at Manhattan's underground West Side Yard rail complex, Biden touted $292 million in funding from his bipartisan infrastructure law that will help pay to install the $643 million worth of concrete casing for just the station alone. Now, we were looking at this last week about the stuff going on. All being well, I will be doing Daniel, yes, and hopefully do one better and come first instead of second in the local elections. I don't know it's not, but I'm quite opinionated. I talk common sense. The two monkeys that went missing from the Dallas Zoo found alive in an abandoned home. A person of interest is sought, and it's not one of the monkeys. The two monkeys reportedly stolen from the Dallas Zoo were found alive inside an abandoned home on Tuesday, shortly after police released an image of a person of interest in the bizarre case. The Emperor Tamarin monkeys were recovered from a house in Lancaster, Texas, just outside of downtown Dallas, the day after the theft. So good news, the monkeys were found alive, yay! And now they're looking for a person of interest, who I assume is the person in the picture, although it doesn't specify whether or not that is the person or it's just a random picture of a person. Omaha, oh, we've done that one. Okay, we'll go. I think we might have some doubling up going on here. So, we'll ignore that one. Have we done this one yet? Memphis library shooting leaves one dead, cop in extremely critical condition. America, sort your gun laws out. One person is dead and a Memphis police officer in extremely critical condition following a shooting on Thursday afternoon at the popular White Station Library in East Memphis. The Memphis police responded to a call at the local public library at 12:32 p.m. on Thursday. The officer was taken to Region 1 hospital in critical condition. The other person was pronounced dead at the scene. It's just horrendous what is going on. Ancient Egyptian embalming workshop reveals new clues to how mummies were made. Well, they were made from humans who died and then dried, having their mushy internal organs taken out and replaced with straw. For thousands of years, ancient Egyptians mummified their dead in the search for eternal life. Now researchers have used chemistry and an unusual collection of jars to figure out how they did it. Their study, published on Wednesday in the journal Nature, is based on rare archaeological finds, an embalming workshop with a trove of pottery around 2,500 years old. Many of the jars were still inscribed with the instructions. Do not inhale. If you get it in your eyes, wash eyes immediately, seek medical attention. If you consume internally, seek medical attention. No, that's just stuff. A whale dies in Hawaii with fishing nets and plastic bags found in its stomach. A whale that was washed up on Hawaii shore over the weekend likely died in part because it ate large volumes of fishing traps, fishing nets, plastic bags and other marine debris, highlighting the threat to wildlife from the millions of tonnes of plastic that ends up in oceans every year. The body of the 56-foot long 1,200-pound animal was first noticed on a reef, and then it got washed off the reef and washed up on the seashore, where they cut it up and had a look inside and found all this stuff. Now, we're getting better. I mean, all the plastics we've used forever is still around. None of it has gone anywhere. Whatever plastic bag you had as a kid with your bread in it when you went to school, your lunchbox, your bags, your shoes, if they were plastic, your mums, your parents, your grandparents, everything they've ever touched that's plastic is still around somewhere. And we are getting better at it. But what we've done is we made things worse, because we're now producing plastic bottles instead of glass bottles. When I was a kid, everything was glass bottles. They're more expensive to produce, but they're kinder to the environment. You can recycle them easier. Yeah, it just seems that we are killing the planet slowly with the plastics that we've had for a long while. And we are getting better, but the problem is every piece of plastic you've ever touched for an entire life is still around. Even recent plastic that's been recycled is still around. It's just been recycled. But the majority of plastics from 3-5 years ago, anything before then, is still around in the condition it was when you last used it, for whatever reason you used it for. So yeah, we need to sort things out, definitely. This is a sad story. A man was killed by cops while cleaning out his late grandmother's home. An Ohio man has died after being shot by police who believed he was a burglar, but his family said he had only been cleaning out his late grandmother's house. Police in Wyoming, a city outside of Cincinnati, encountered Joe Frazier Jr., 28, while responding about 1 a.m. to a 911 call that a few people were trying to break into an apartment. Yeah, it's not a case of shoot first and ask questions later. It's just a case of shoot. America, sort out your policemen. Yes. Thank you. Russia warns it will gain world's attention on first anniversary of Ukraine war. Now, Putin said that it would be 6 weeks and they would have full control of Ukraine. And we're coming up to the first anniversary of it. So Russia's top diplomat issued a chilling warning on Thursday that Moscow will do everything to gain the world's attention on the first anniversary of the war in Ukraine, as the Kremlin was said to be preparing to launch a new offensive with up to 500,000 conscripts. Conscripts, not army, conscripts. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warned Moscow would take great measures to overshadow anti-Russia events allegedly being planned by the West. It's a spoiled child, isn't it, Putin? And like I said before, he's got the luxury of not throwing the toys out the pram. He's got the luxury in his eyes of throwing missiles out of his country into other countries, and it just baffles me how we're letting him get away with it so easily. Michigan boy 6 orders nearly $1,500 worth of food from Grubhub on dad's phone. So I assume Grubhub is similar to our Deliveroos and Just Eat and all that kind of thing. This young boy's eyes were bigger than his parents' bank account. A 6-year-old Michigan boy, playing on his dad's phone, managed to order $1,000 in takeout food, including $183 in jumbo shrimp and endless chili fries and ice cream, before the bank finally put the kibosh on nearly £500 worth of pepperoni pizza. Little Mason Stonehouse's dad, Keith, first detailed on Facebook how he's let his youngest son play with his phone but not realising what he was up to. To be fair, that's innocent and fair enough, but I know there are some kids who actually use the phone to actually buy stuff for things like, if it's still a thing, I don't know whether it's still a thing or not, that game that kids play and I've forgotten the name of. What's it called? The shooting one. That one. Anyway, let's move on. A transgender woman charged with indecent exposure over YMCA locker room incident. Now we're back on the trans thing, and it's such a poison chalice, to be fair. A transgender woman has been charged with indecent exposure after allegedly stripping naked in front of women and girls at an Ohio YMCA, authorities have said. Rachel Gleans, whose legal first name is Darren, was charged with 3 counts of indecent exposure in connection with at least 3 incidents dating back to 2021. Women reported seeing a naked male in the changing rooms area and the shower area. This is where it gets complicated. Like I said, anyone can be whatever they want to be, but you've got to protect people from things like that. And yeah, horrendous. A man mauled to death by neighbours' dogs while trying to protect his poodle. A Houston man was mauled to death by his neighbour's dogs on Wednesday while trying to save his small poodle from being attacked. Officers responded to a home to find the victim on the ground being chewed on by one of the dogs. The police said the dogs charged at them, prompting the cops to open fire, killing the dogs. But yeah, horrendous. And again, they're looking into what breed of dog it is, although I don't think there's as many laws in America for breeds of dogs, dangerous and all that. Californian dad of 2 shot dead while driving on freeway. American, sort your gun laws out, will you? A young father of 2 and a Navy veteran was shot dead while driving near the Los Angeles International Airport while returning home from dinner over the weekend. Carl Flaney Jr., 28, was behind the wheel with his girlfriend at 2 a.m. on Saturday when he was ambushed along the 405 freeway off-ramp in Westchester, California. While exiting the freeway, a car approached them and maybe 1 or 2 people got out of the car and opened fire. It's horrendous. You're coming home from a night out with your girlfriend and you don't end up going home. You just end up in a body bag. America, sort yourself out. Family of W amputee shot dead by cops seeks justice. He was not a threat. The family of a double amputee shot dead by California cops is seeking answers to why they needed to kill a wheelchair-bound man, while his ex-wife said the video of the incident broke me. Anthony Lowe Jr., 36, stabbed a person in Huntington Park on January the 26th and was wielding a butcher's knife when the cops tased and shot him about 10 times after he leaped from his chair. Yeah, America, sort your cops out as well, definitely. A wheelchair-bound man being tasered and shot 10 times. It's there's just no words, are there? No words. Groundhog Day 2023. I never knew that Groundhog Day existed until the Groundhog Day movie came out, which I watched, and then I thought I've seen this before. Did Staten Island Chuck see a shadow? Staten Island Chuck is on a hot streak. New York City's weather hog did not see his shadow early on Thursday morning during the Staten Island's Zoo annual Groundhog Day ceremony, signalling that springtime is near. As the tradition goes, had Chuck seen his shadow, New York City will be left with 6 more weeks of winter. While the West Brighton ceremony was closed to the public, students from a local high school witnessed the groundhog not see his own shadow. I mean, the groundhog has got no idea what's going on, and between you and me, I don't think it makes a jot of difference whether or not the groundhog sees its shadow or not as to what the weather's going to be like. New Jersey Councilwoman Eunice Dwine-Ford was fatally shot outside her home. New Jersey Councilwoman has been found shot and killed outside her home on Wednesday night, according to reports. The body of the councilwoman was discovered in a vehicle after police received a call of shots fired near the Camelot at Lemaire apartment complex. The New Jersey Globe reported. Again, America, gun laws, sorted, now. Stop people dying for no reason. Man 40, fatally shot outside New York City funeral home during aunt's wake. A man was shot and killed on Wednesday night outside a Brooklyn funeral home that was holding a wake for the victims of his aunt. Tyrone Johnson, 40, was shot multiple times in the chest just outside the entrance of Grace Funeral Chapels in Cypress Hills around 7 p.m. He was transported to Jamaica Hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, and they don't seem to get the problem. Man dies, this is different though, a man dies after a fan brawl at middle school basketball game in Vermont. A 60-year-old man died after he was involved in a massive brawl that broke out among spectators at a middle school basketball game in Vermont on Tuesday. State troopers arrived at the Community Education Centre just before 7 p.m. after receiving reports of a large fight involving spectators watching 7th and 8th grade boys play basketball. One man died from a heart attack. I mean, kids playing basketball and it ends in a massive brawl. Texas cop killer Wesley Roots used final breaths to talk to victim's family before execution. A convicted cop killer who fatally shot a Dallas police corporal after a high-speed chase in 2007 used his final breaths to apologise to the officer's family on Wednesday, telling them he was sorry for taking him away from you. This was minutes before being put to death. The 43-year-old death row inmate was given a lethal injection as punishment for shooting and killing the 33-year-old Dallas police senior corporal in 2007. I suppose better late than never, but still. Video shows 9-year-old Florida girl savagely beaten by 2 boys in a school bus attack. I do it for 2 hours non-stop. It's terrifying and exciting at the same time. Video shows 9-year-old Florida girl savagely beaten by 2 boys in a school bus attack. The parents of a 9-year-old Florida girl who was videoed being mercilessly beaten by 2 boys aboard a school bus plan to pursue criminal charges against her attackers. Footage of the stomach-churning assault shows 2 boys ferociously and repeatedly pummeling the 3rd grader as she rode home on the school bus. You think someone on the school bus would notice that there was something going on and pull over and maybe sort out the situation? Talking of the situation, US. My name is Sponge, James Sponge. Miss Moneypenny. You've been expecting me? US pushes back blinking China trip over spy balloon furore. The Biden administration has postponed Secretary of State Antony Blinken's planned trip to China early next week. You've got Biden, Blinken and Kamala Harris. It's after a suspected spy balloon launched by Beijing was spotted over western USA. Blinken was meant to be going there to talk about COVID and various other bits and pieces as well, but he's not going now because of this spy satellite. China responds to suspected spy balloon over US as Canada detects one too. I think Canada detect the same one, to be fair. China claimed on Friday to be launching its own investigation into suspected spy balloon flying over the USA, as Canada said it was also monitoring a potential second incident. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said Beijing was verifying the situation after US officials confirmed they had communicated the seriousness with which we take the issue. It still seems all a bit bizarre, doesn't it? It all seems very weird. Not really reported in Britain, but paedophile pop star Gary Glitter is released from jail after serving half his sentence. Disgraced British pop star and convicted paedophile Gary Glitter was released from prison on Friday after serving just half of his 16-year sentence. I'll be honest, I already thought he was out. Glitter, born Paul Francis Gadd, was set free from Dorset's HMP in England. The Do You Want to Touch Me singer, that's unfortunate, was caged in 2015 after he sexually abused 3 young girls, all under the age of 13, at the height of his fame in the 1970s. What it doesn't mention is he was also put in jail in, was it not Taiwan? Where is it? Where people go. And yeah, he's not a nice person at all, and I was never a big fan of his music either, so no great loss. Another person who I'm not a fan of is this guy here. Thailand, that's the one, Sean, thank you. Smug George Santos shows off assault rifle lapel pin on the House floor, angering Dems. Thailand, yes, Daniel as well, thank you. Disgraced Republican George Santos was among several Republican lawmakers spotted sporting an assault rifle lapel pin on the House floor this week, a move that outraged several Democrats amid recent spate of mass shootings. George Santos was wearing an assault weapon lapel pin literally days after a string of mass shootings, calling it tone deaf or stupid, but one thing for certain, he's not fit to serve in Congress. He makes, what's that other guy? I remembered his name and I forgot it again now. Oh, the other one I keep going on about as well. Makes him look sane, this guy. I mean, you've got mass shootings going on and you wear a lapel pin, or a lapel pin in the equivalent of the House of Parliament with a gun on it because you're supporting people with guns. It's, yeah, you shouldn't be in, oh God. Iowa woman declared dead, wakes up in a body bag gasping for air. A 66-year-old Iowa woman woke up inside a body bag gasping for air after a nursing home assumed she died and shipped her to a funeral home. The Glen Oaks Alzheimer's Special Care Centre in Des Moines is facing a $10,000 fine after 3 staffers were unable to tell that the unidentified woman who had died 2 days later was still alive. I mean, the poor lady died 2 days later, but yeah, can you imagine that? I mean, in some countries, they bury the dead straight away, you know. Can you imagine if they did that in America? The poor woman would have been buried alive. Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. And they call themselves Alzheimer's Special Care. Yeah, nothing special about your care. New York City, northeast, bracing for dangerous polar vortex, sub-zero temperatures. America is getting another beast from the north. This time, New Yorkers will face temperatures as they plummet to the teens and single digits in the Big Apple. Now, they do it in Fahrenheit. So single digits and teens is cold. It's sub-zero. It's going to be -40 and -50 degrees due to the polar vortex. So you wouldn't want to be in America right now, would you, Christian Horner, Max Verstappen, and all the other Red Bull crew? Yeah, you picked the wrong time to go on holiday, didn't you? Monica Lewinsky took Bill Clinton's eye off bin Laden, leading to 9/11. I'll admit she took Bill Clinton's eye. In her mouth. Bill Clinton apparently was so busy wagging his own tail that he lost track of the biggest threat the US had ever seen, a new book has claimed. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm assuming they've written that that way deliberately so that people like me can just take the mickey out of it. Canadian groundhog Fred Lamarmorette found dead just before winter prediction. He couldn't have predicted this. Well, he couldn't have. He's a bloody marmonette or whatever. It gave Canadian groundhog Fred Lamarmorette gave a Quebec crowd a real surprise on Thursday when he was found dead moments before the annual weather forecasting ceremony. Officials brought the sad news, much to the shock of those gathered, who were eagerly hoping for an early spring prediction from Fred. In life, the only thing that is certain is that nothing is certain, said an official. I mean, yeah, it's awful that the thing died, but oh God, you can still see where it's got a shadow in it. I mean, let's be honest. The thing being alive or dead would be as aware of looking for its own shadow either way. So, yeah. Sorry, too soon. In Ohio, that place there, they are investigating a white supremacist online homeschool network. The Department of Education is investigating an online homeschool network that aims to indoctrinate children as Nazis. But insiders say the state has little power to change the white supremacist curriculum. The dissident homeschool community, a Telegram channel, was founded in October 2021. Founded by a married couple with 4 children, and yeah, apparently they're indoctrinating people to become Nazis, and no one can do anything about it. Really? What we know about the suspected Chinese spy balloon flying over the USA. The US military was closely tracking a huge high-altitude balloon from China, as it sailed across the country on Friday, sparking a spying saga that led to Secretary of State Antony Blinken abruptly postponing a high-stakes Beijing trip. The manoeuvrable balloon was first spotted on Tuesday and has already travelled over sensitive military sites in Montana and is expected to remain in American airspace for several more days. But like I say, we've heard today that one of the two, because there's one over Latin America as well, has been shot down. More of that next week. Alleged Dallas Zoo monkey theft arrested while lurking in aquarium. There was something fishy about this guy. The man suspected of stealing monkeys from Dallas Zoo was arrested while casing out an aquarium, possibly to plan the next animal heist. Davian Irvin, he's got the right name, Irvin, Steve Irvin, identified on Tuesday as a person of interest in the primate theft, was spotted at the Dallas Aquarium lurking by its marine exhibits, the police department told the Post on Friday. He's been charged with 6 counts of interfering with animals and infrastructure at the zoo. I don't know what interfering with the animals means. Hoodooani owl on the loose after vandalism at Central Park Zoo enclosure. So it's not just Dallas. They are calling it a brazen bird, a real Dehuni. An owl was on the loose in the Upper East Side on Thursday after vandals let it get free from its enclosure at the Central Park Zoo, officials said. The Eurasian eagle named Falco, named Falco, Rock me Amadeus, was discovered missing from its exhibit at 8:30 p.m. The winged escapee proved to be too slippery for the NYPD and flew off. Currently sightings all over, cheeky monkey, very good Angela. The sightings currently all over that area of New York of this rather large owl. And you know what it said? It'll come back at some point. I'll be back. Brianna Foster Newton didn't know school shooter 6 had a gun, lawyer says. The former principal at the Virginia school where a 6-year-old boy allegedly shot and wounded his teacher had not been informed the student had a gun on the day of the shooting. She was principal at the Rich Neck Elementary School in Newport when first grade teacher Abby Zorena was shot in a classroom on January the 6th. She and the assistant principal were both sacked, but she's trying to get her job back, saying that she didn't know anything about the gun in the school. Anyway, we're nearly there. Man drops human jawbone off at California police station and then leaves. An unidentified man walked into a California police station on Thursday and dropped off a human jawbone along with suspected animal remains, investigators said. The stranger approached the public counter at the San Bernardino Police Department carrying what appeared to be deceased animal remains and a lower jaw that resembled a human. They're currently looking into what went on and they're trying to trace the gentleman to question further, I would assume. 150 starving cats discovered in New York house where couple is found dead. More than 100 famished cats were discovered living in squalor inside a Winchester County hoarding house where Billy Shears, I've got a bone to pick with him. Very good. Very good indeed. More than 100 famished cats were discovered living in squalor inside a Winchester hoarding house where a man and woman were found dead this week. Police were conducting a welfare check on the residents after being requested to do so by a family member, and they were confronted with 150 cats and the bodies of the 2 people. So yeah, not good. Where are we? There we are. There's so many different pictures to go for. Ex-New York Police Department officer fatally shoots boyfriend, then turned guns on himself. A retired New York police officer shot and killed her boyfriend before turning the gun on herself in an apparent murder-suicide. Mum Lindsay Clancy is improving daily after attempted murder-suicide, the cops said. The ex-cop and the man were found with gunshot wounds to their heads in Flatbush around 1:52 p.m. The cops were called for after gunshots were heard. Horrendous, absolutely horrendous. New York, so everyone sort your gun laws out. Creepy raccoons living outside New York City woman's window give her nightmares. You're like, what? Masked squatters keep peeking into her window. A family of raccoons living in a crevice between a Bronx woman's apartment and the house next door is giving the tenant nightmares, but the landlord won't do anything to block off the critters. A.D. Van Elverlavla said the nocturnal rascals have tormented her for months by scratching at her bedroom window while she's trying to sleep. Only in America? I mean, yeah, raccoons, they get a bad rep, I think. I don't know. Anyway, discoveries. Jupiter's moon count jumps to a record-breaking 92. Astronomers have discovered 12 new moons around Jupiter, putting the total count at a record-breaking 92. That's more than any other planet in our solar system. No poo Sherlock. Saturn, the one-time leader, comes in a close second with 83 confirmed moons. The Jupiter moons were added recently to a list kept by the International Astronomical Union's Minor Planet Centre, said Scott Shepard, who was part of the team. They were discovered using telescopes in Hawaii and Chile. Well, there you go then. More moons. It's a new moon on Monday. Sorry, Duran Duran reference. Elon Musk didn't deceive Tesla investors with 2018 tweets, jury rules. A jury on Friday decided that Elon Musk didn't deceive investors with his 2018 tweets about electric automaker Tesla in a proposed deal that quickly unravelled and raised questions whether the billionaire had misled investors. The 9-member jury reached its verdict after less than 2 hours of deliberation following a 3-week trial. So yeah, Elon Musk not guilty of that. Guilty of many other things. Manhattan Transport Authority unveils new sleek high-tech subway cars, and here's what lines are getting them. It won't affect me, but there you go. Bet this beats the subway car you rode to work. The top Metropolitan Transportation Authority, brass on Friday, showed off gleaming new high-tech subway cars they hope to roll out into service before the end of the year. So far, the MTA has ordered nearly 1,200 new R211 subway cars with an estimated $3.2 billion that will feature wider doors for speedier boarding, digital displays with more information, and more CCTV to reduce crime on the subway. I don't think that's going to help particularly, but anyway, we'll go with it. Pentagon says another Chinese spy balloon travelling over Latin America. We've already covered that to a degree, but just mention it there. Just keep us in the loop. Broken-hearted Canadian begs New Yorkers for help after MetroCard collection stolen. He's hoping to get his MetroCard collection back on track. A broken-hearted Canadian MetroCard collector, yes, people actually collect them, is reaching out to Big Apple residents for help replenishing his stolen transit treasure. Tech consultant Jeffrey Andrews, 26, lost his cherished and growing pile of 50 Metro cards when a thief broke into his Toronto home in December, swiping old headphones, clothes and his box of Metro cards. I mean, why would you steal a box of Metro cards? I know people used to collect the phone cards. If you're of a certain age, you'll remember when Big T brought out these cards that you could put into a phone. You buy them from a shop and then you keep them in your wallet, about the size of a credit card, and then you put it in the phone box, and you'd be able to make calls from it. And what it would do is eat away at the credit on the card, and then when it ran out, you went and bought another card, and they put different pictures on, things like that, and people collected them. But yeah, this guy, it's a bit sad. Am I going to hell for laughing at these stories? No, we're doing it lightheartedly. Some of these stories are ridiculous. There's more ridiculous stuff to come, trust me. Oh my God. New York City mailman caught delivering kilos of cocaine from his truck while on the clock. A Brooklyn mailman was caught making special deliveries. Kilos of cocaine on the clock, authorities said. Letter carrier Zawardi Lewis was charged with drug distribution in Brooklyn Federal Court on Friday after the US Postal Service's Office of Inspector General said he delivered at least 3 packages of cocaine to addresses across Brooklyn in December. I mean, it's kind of genius in a way. Who would suspect a postie? It's fair enough. US may lift protections for Yellowstone glacier grizzlies. The Biden administration took a first step Friday towards ending federal protections for grizzly bears in the northern Rocky Mountains, which would open up the door to future hunting in Montana, Wyoming and in Ohio. The US Fish and Wildlife Service said state officials provided substantial information that grizzlies have recovered from the threat of extinction in the regions surrounding Yellowstone and Glacier National Parks, but federal officials rejected claims that protection should be lifted immediately. And yeah, the whole point of them having protection is so that they can get the numbers up, not so you get numbers up and then you can shoot them again. A train derailment causes massive fire in Hawaii. Why can I never say this one, and why is everything in this fucking state? A train derailed near the border of that place and Pennsylvania on Friday night, causing a massive fire in the area, local media reported. Multiple train cars seen on fire, images posted on social media from East Palestine, a town northwest of Pittsburgh. Smoke can be seen rising from the blaze and filling the atmosphere. Police are blocking off multiple roads. We can see the fire caused by the train derailment from afar. Orange flames lighting up the sky. No notification of any injuries or anything, but hopefully it's just the carriages that have caught fire, and hopefully they were not occupied at the time. Mount Washington as cold as Mars, with record-breaking wind chills of 110 below. This cold is out of this world. New Hampshire's Mount Washington felt more like Mars than planet Earth on Friday, as wind chills dipped below an unfathomable minus 110 degrees, a new record for the coldest wind chill ever recorded in the US. Known for having some of the world's worst weather, Mount Washington saw air temperatures plummet to minus 46 degrees and wind speeds averaging over 100 miles an hour. That would do it. That would make the wind chill chilly. Another Chinese spy balloon spotted over Latin America. Okay, we've already had that one up, but from a different news source. 2 gang members arrested after gunfight with cops over killing of teen mum clutching baby. 2 gang members were wanted for allegedly slaughtering 6 family members in California, including a 16-year-old mother who died clutching her infant. They were arrested following a gunfight with police on Friday. More than 100 local and federal officers swooped down on the gang members in connection with the shootings. In Ohio, Philadelphia teen shot by victim he alleged attempted to carjack faces charges. So a teen who was shot while attempting to carjack a vehicle in Philadelphia has been charged with the incident. So not the person who shot the teen himself who got shot has been charged with carjacking, but the person who shot the teenager has not been charged with anything. America, gun laws, sort them now, please. Thank you. And, as they say, that was a lot. That was 99 different news stories from America. It told me when I when I counted the images. That's the busiest News from America we've ever done. And we've done a few, I'll be honest with you. But that's it for Meanwhile in America. So, meanwhile in Australia, g'day sport. This, now, regular viewers and listeners will remember an American story where we had a warning to Americans not to let babies eat batteries. We remember that fondly, and it's often referred to as well. Well, you'll be interested to know there's a story that isn't the same, but kind of similar to a degree, coming up shortly in Australia. The top baby names in 2022 in Australia. Now, you would think that they'd be similar to the rest of the world, although there might be a few Bruces in there or whatever. But no. Boys' names: Oliver, Noah, Leo, William, Theodore, Jack, Henry, Luca, Thomas and Charlie. No Bruces. And no Mohammeds either, which I was surprised at. And girls: Charlotte, Amelia, Olivia, Isla, Mia, Ava, Ella, Matilda, Sienna and Chloe. But yeah, just normal names. So nice, lovely, like that. For an affordable price, the zoo will name a cockroach after you. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. You can read it yourself, can't you? Can you? Sheilas, no Sheilas, no Sheilas either. And no Goliaths. For an affordable price, the zoo will name a cockroach after your not-so-special someone and feed it to an animal. Zoo lets you name a cockroach after an ex and feed it to an animal. I mean, you know, we're going about PC gone mad. That's just mad. That's the other way of looking at it. That is mad. Novak Djokovic wins his 10th Australian Open title, defeating Greece's guy in a straight sets at Melbourne Park. This is the Serbian's 22nd Grand Slam, tying with Rafael Nadal for the most men's singles titles of all time. If you remember, this time last year, he got sent home because of the COVID thing that was going on. He wasn't vaccinated, and he went there saying that he had special privilege because he was Djokovic, and it's like, no, you get out. So they sent him home, and that's where his rival Nadal actually won and got his 22nd. So there you go then. An ugly brawl involving two mothers and their teenage children has erupted inside a bank in Sydney southwest. More than a dozen people were caught up in the clash at Bankstown as horrified customers and staff watched on. And the video is amazing. I've never seen any fighting quite like it. It's a good old fight. An Airbus is testing a new system which will use cameras to enable planes to fly without pilots and land on their own in emergencies. Looming change will forever alter how we fly around the world. I mean, we know this is coming anyway. Of anything that you can automate, then planes is probably the safest one, in a way. So we'll have to wait and see how it goes. However, I'm not sure I want to get on a plane that didn't have a pilot. But then again, most pilot crashes that we have are caused by human error. So yeah. Two women have been filmed trading blows on a busy Melbourne road, stopping traffic during peak hour last night. Bystanders can be seen rushing to separate the women as they brawl on Brighton Road in Elwood. What is it with women in Australia and fighting? At least they haven't got guns, I suppose. That's one thing to be good. A wildlife rescuer has saved a wombat after it became stuck on a stump in the middle of a lake. The wombat was spotted by a family while fishing on Sunday, who alerted Dutch Thunder Wildlife Shelter to assist the animal, stranded about half a kilometre from the shore. I mean, the poor thing, but terrified. But yeah, they rescued it, so happy days. This is happy news, isn't it? Another rescue was this cat, which was rescued from inside a wall. They had to actually rip open the wall to get the cat out. They don't know how the cat got in there. Millions of householders will be paying hundreds of dollars more for their gas from today as retailers increase their natural gas tariffs. It comes as new inquiry begins into the government's handling of the cost of living crisis. Now, I've said before, and I've said many times, everyone's going on about, oh, you know, government this, government that, government the other, it's terrible, blah, 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 blah. It's all over the world. Everyone's going through the same thing. It doesn't matter what government you've got. They're all crap. So, yeah, it's everywhere. An underwater volcano erupts in Vatano this morning, sending huge plumes of ash into the sky. Residents of surrounding islands are now on a level 1 alert with continuous volcanic activity triggering a tsunami warning for parts of Fiji. Easy for you to say. Now, I don't like wasps. Imagine finding a wasp nest this big. A massive wasp nest discovered in an unoccupied property last week, and it was basically filled a room of a house. What goes up must go down. It's truth. A Ferrari was left hanging down a lift shaft after an elevator malfunctioned at a high-end dealership in Miami, Florida. Firefighters were brought to do the heavy lifting, eventually winching the wreck out after a 4.5-hour operation. Can you imagine the insurance job on that one? It's a high-end car showroom, and yeah. King Charles will not feature on the new $5 note because Australia wants to become a republic, doesn't it? It's a tale of two extremes on much of Australia's coastline this morning. Brisbane is right now in the heatwave alert, predicted to be one of the most humid places on earth. Meanwhile, in the middle of summer, snow is falling in New South Wales and Victoria. So that is New South Wales and Victoria, and that is Brisbane. And they're not that far apart from each other, in consideration it's Australia. But yeah, shocking stuff. The father of a child who was found dead in a hot car in Sydney's southwest has been released without charge. And you're like, what? That's all we've got. But yeah, a child found dead inside a car in Sydney southwest has not been, the father has not been charged with anything at all. And you're like, even in America, they charge people for that. And we know what America are like. MDMA is approved to treat mental health conditions. A psychedelic has been approved by the TGA, which is the Australian Therapeutic Goods Administration. And they've approved the prescription of MDMA and psilocybin, an active ingredient in magic mushrooms, to treat some mental health conditions. What could possibly go wrong? From July the 1st, psychiatrists will be able to prescribe the substance for treating post-traumatic stress disorder and for treatment resistant depression. What? An 82-year-old accused of attempting to smuggle cocaine and a 30-year-old Flinders Park man was also arrested. An 82-year-old Flinders Park woman's been arrested in a multi-million-dollar cocaine trafficking investigation. Police say she and a 30-year-old Flinders Park man were attempting to import 8 kilograms of cocaine, which have been worth more than 3 million Australian dollars. I used to watch them. What they called where they have border control things, and they had one, and whenever they found cocaine, it'd go Kikenya, 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 like, you know, it's quite scary. Anyway, this is the thing with babies. Choking fears over toy wand. There are fears a popular kid's toy could cause severe internal injuries. The UK government, the Australian government, is urging anyone who owns the Yipso Trading Company's Light Up Wand to return the product immediately where they purchased it for a full refund, as it's been discovered that if it's ingested, it can cause injury to children. No poo Sherlock. This looks interesting. New clinical trial for kids with brain cancer, an Australian first. A new clinical trial for fatal paediatric brain cancer has been launched in Australia. The trial into diffuse intrinsic pontine glymola will offer new treatment options and hope to help children living with the devastating disease. And yes, take it and get a refund. Yes, parents should take, definitely. Like, what the hell is going on? And finally, in Australia, the TGA has announced they will reduce the pack sizes of paracetamol to combat high overdose rates. It comes after a report outlined around 225 Australians were hospitalised and 50 people died from paracetamol overdoses every year. So the numbers of capsules are reduced from 20 to 16. Right. If you're going to kill yourself, you just buy 2 packs. There's other ways of dealing with this, and that is not it. But Australia knows better. They've already, and you can only buy 2 packs at once, but obviously you can go on consecutive days and buy multiple packs over consecutive days. But you can only buy 2 packs at once. But Australia's finally caught up, but it's like, I think that ship's already sailed. And that was it for what's going on down under, folks. Which leads us nicely to, meanwhile, in India. I'm not even joking. India, oh my God, India, what have you been up to this week? Oh, even I don't believe this. But anyway, we'll go with it. We got a lot, we got a few, we haven't got many. Punjab to levy groundwater extraction charges on non-exempt users from February the 1st. The Punjab government will start levying charges for extracting groundwater from the state on all non-exempt users from February the 1st. The new directions, however, do not cover groundwater for use for agricultural, drinking and domestic purposes. So who else is going to have the water? But yeah, charging for water. We said this would happen out the ground where you live. I mean, what? Really? What are you doing that for? Seriously? I've lost India. Just bear with me. That's why I'm waffling. I've lost India. There we go. There we go. I found India again. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're fine. We're back. We're back. We're back on. Congress using cheap language out of fear of loss in assemblies. Cheap language. You know what that means. The swearing. We've already done the Chinese balloon incident, Paul. What it be? Welcome, by the way. Comitek Chief Minister says Congress was resorting to cheap language as they feared losing state assembly elections due later this year. There's no need for cheap language at all. Language should be respectful at all times. Taliban banned female students from attending university entrance exams. So I don't know why they're doing entrance exams when they're already banned from going to university. 3 killed, dozens injured after an earthquake of 5.9 magnitude struck Iran. There's a lot of earthquakes going on that we don't know about. Donald Trump opens up 2024 US presidential run saying he's more committed than ever. Well, he should be. Committed, that is. Delhi government to introduce 1,500 self-drive public e-scooters to ease connectivity. The Delhi government on Saturday decided to introduce 1,500 self-drive public e-scooters in a pilot project to ease last-mile connectivity in the national capital. Can you imagine walking around, riding around on a scooter through Delhi? I mean, talk about death wish. We've seen the roads previous weeks, but yeah. US 4-star general warns of war with China in 2025. A 4-star US Air Force General, Mike Minihan, who heads the Air Mobility Command, sent a memo that his gut told him that the United States would fight China in the next 2 years. I'm saying sooner than that. US officials suspects Israelis hand behind drone attack on Iran factory. Azerbaijan ambassador staff shifted to Baku. Iran on Sunday claimed that drones had struck a military factory near the central city of Isfahan and said there were no casualties or serious damage. Where are we? There we are. Rattling through these. Russia designates teenager terrorist for posting against Ukraine war on Instagram. A 19-year-old student has been designated as terrorist by Russian authorities allegedly for posting anti-war comments on her Instagram account. Yep, it's a nice tolerant society. Odds very high of US military conflict with China, top Republican says. A top Republican in the US Congress says the odds of conflict with China over Taiwan are very high, as Beijing would look at military invasion if it fails to take control of Taiwan bloodlessly. Earthquake 4.9 hits Andaman Sea. Earthquake hit the Andaman Sea and the Andaman Sea and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands on Tuesday. Driver burnt alive as truck engulfed in flames following a collision. A driver was burnt alive after his truck caught fire following a road accident in the Pali City. Witnesses said the explosions rocked both trucks soon after the accident. Horrendous, absolutely awful. But again, we read last week that a lot of the truck drivers, the week before, have bad eyesight. Former Brazil President Bolsonaro has applied for US tourist visa. He doesn't want to go back to Brazil because he knows he's going to get arrested. Former Brazil President Bolsonaro has applied for a 6-month tourist visa to remain in the United States. Kamala Harris to attend Tyree Nichols' funeral as the prosecutors weigh more charges. So it's made worldwide news, and rightly so. Stop choking Africa, Pope Francis tells the rich world. Pope Francis began a visit to the Democratic Republic of Congo on Tuesday. He spoke to dignitaries and gave out messages that Africa is not a mine to be stripped. Basically, what I've been saying all along, electric cars are not the future because all we're doing is just moving the problem somewhere else. Ex-serviceman who took pensions for 66 years passes away at 100. Good on him. An ex-serviceman who made a record of collecting pension for 66 years passed away at his village at the age of 100 years old. Top quality. 66 years on a pension. Bloody hell. BSF arrests smuggler carrying gold worth 54.7 thingamabobby in his lower abdomen. I mean, how that gold is heavy. How that stays up there is beyond me. We won't go any further into that. I think some of you might be having your tea. Even balloons make it. Chinese spy balloon spotted over nuclear launch site in US, and US say it's too risky to shoot down. Although we've heard that they have shot one down recently. And our least favourite people, sex lies and video cams. Andrew Tate turned women into slaves, prosecutors say. Tate, an influencer with millions of online followers, urged a Moldavian woman to join him in Romania. The woman thought it was love, but then she was basically treated as a sex slave. Not ruling out UK minister on sending jets to war-hit Ukraine. The United States has ruled out any deliveries of F-16s to Ukraine for now, but other partners, including Poland, have shown themselves more open to the idea. I don't think we should send planes to Ukraine. Tanks and anti-air missiles, fine. Planes, no. Pregnant lady, husband dead as cars burst into flames in Kannur. A man and his pregnant wife were charged to death. It's horrendous again. On Thursday, after a car they were travelling in burst into flames. 4 people, including a child sitting in the back seat, escaped without injuries. It's just absolutely horrible. PPE skit cam. PPE. Ex-director of Himanchi Health Services arrested in bribery case. During the investigation, vigilance officials found another recording in which Gupta purportedly demanded lots of rubles, not rubles, what are they called in for basically corruption about PPE in India, like there's corruption about it in England and everywhere else. Mumbai University postpones exams as non-teaching staff call for statewide strike. Owing to the decision of non-teaching staff of state universities and colleges to boycott the examinations, Mumbai universities have postponed the exams. The revised schedule will be announced on the university's portal. Everywhere is striking everywhere. It's not just Britain. 13 dead as wildfires blaze through south-central Chile. A state of catastrophe declared. It's been declared on the farming and forest area of Biobío and neighbouring Nubel, prompting the deployment of soldiers and additional resources. And finally, another earthquake. 3.2 magnitude earthquake hits UP Haryana. The trembler, which had its epicentre in Shamai, the sugar belt of western Uttar Pradesh, hit the region on a Friday night. So, that was the news in India. You're thinking, well, that's it then. But no. No. We've now got, because it's so miserable, the news, funnies. This is where we come up with some funny news. Not even joking. This is funny news. This is news that will make you laugh. And we need it, I'll be honest with you. The news has been shocking. Now, some of this news is old news, but it's still worth rehashing. And some of the news is just superb, like this first one, for example. I need to make this a bit bigger. A single man in China. Sorry, I can't read this one, it's just funny. A single man in China once booked every other seat in a cinema to split up couples on Valentine's Day. I mean, it's genius. It's so good. It is so good. It is genius. I just love that. Meanwhile, a man arrested for training dog to throw bricks at people ringing his doorbell. It's genius. Absolute genius. Breaking news. This is from 2017, but what the hell? It's absolutely disgraceful. Residents hit out at grass verge mess left by Sheffield Council contractors. Just look at that mess. And they're doing that typical local news thing where they're all pointing at it looking serious. I mean, it's disgraceful. They cut the grass and they didn't sweep up after themselves. Oh, pretentious gits. Grandad returns from Cornwall by bus. That's all you're getting. That's it. That's news. Who left tiny farm by my car? Liam Andrews was baffled to find a miniature farmyard scene, also pictured, lying next to his car in the Morrison's car park in the Malvern. What? Arizona psychic hit by car says he never saw it coming. Oh dear God. Oh. Blair Robertson recalls the moment a white Lexus crashed through the front window of a restaurant in Canada, launching the psychic medium into the air and pinning him against a wall. I didn't foresee it happening, he admitted. It's like, setting it straight. Typographical error. Due to a typing error, Saturday Story on local artist John Henniger mistakenly reported that Henniger's bandmate Eric Lidley was on drugs. The story should have read that Lidley was on drums. The Sentinel regrets the error. I mean, that's one error to make. Although, it might not be an error necessarily, because we know what rock stars are like. Panic as man burns crumpets. That's it. That's all you're getting. You're not getting any more, you're not getting any less. Woman attacked postman with Satsuma. Again, that's your lot. There's no more. Woman asks council to trim her bush after it grows wildly out of control. For now. Zoo separates 5 parrots after the birds were caught encouraging each other to swear at guests. How does a bird encouraging. Go on then, it's your turn. Tell him to cough. I'm not telling him to cough. You tell him to cough. I've already said it twice. It's your turn. No. Harry, if you do it, I'll do it. He's not going to do it. He never does it. And yeah, I mean, separate them. Bonkers. And then finally, and this is a Wigan classic. Sadly, the gentleman involved has passed away. But, I mean, this is something to be remembered by, isn't it? This is something to go on your gravestone. Drunk man tries to have sex with a postbox in Wigan. Yeah. And it's a true story. Because I live in Wigan, I remember it happening. I mean, I didn't see it happen, but I remember it happening. What a man. And I drive past that postbox regular as well. I don't look at it in the same way now. It cheated on me. But there you go. So that was the funnies. I admit we've got a few from like 2017 or whatever, but I thought they were worth resharing because you may not have seen them before. If you had seen them before, you may have forgot about them. But I think it was worth digging them up, definitely. And that is it for this week. So we will go on to that one, and we will need to find now our hero of the week and our villain of the week. So, who's our hero of the week? Have we got a hero of the week? We must have a hero of the week. Did he get done for illegal stamping before posting? You're a bad person. But that's why we like you. It's fine. Right, let's browse. Let's have a look at the... not that one. It's not that one. It's not that one. It's that one. And then it's that one. Right. So what we got? We've got hero and villain. I will put Sean Dyche as the hero because his first match, he gave Everton a win. So I think Sean Dyche, hero of the week. It's probably completely wrong, but I'll know what it means. And the villain of the week, hero of the day, villain of the week. Where are we? There we go. Villain of the week would be... Who can we have as villain of the week? Try and keep it light-hearted, but it doesn't really work. What are we doing? Yeah, Rishi Sunak was villain of the week last week for lack of decisive action, and then the day after I said that, the day after, he did it. I think, to be fair, I think Boris. No, we can't give it Putin. It's too obvious. But Boris can get it because he's acting like he's Prime Minister and he's not Prime Minister. He's going around telling people what to do and visiting like he's still the Prime Minister. So I think we should make Boris. I think villain of the week must be Boris. Boris forgot he's not PM. Not PM. I think that's probably the best bet because, well, he's not PM. So why is he acting like he's PM? He's actually more like he's a PM now than he did when he was PM. That makes sense. So there you go then. That was a mammoth. What a week that was. Yep, Silence is great. She's currently asleep outside on the thingamabobby, having a sleep. So how have we done this week? We've had a peak of 10 viewers at about 9:30, and then again at 10 o'clock. And we've had 102 views overall, average of 7 minutes and 23 seconds. So yeah, all good. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and if you're listening to this on the podcast, don't forget to do the same, and certainly share as well. if you want to listen to an English person talking rubbish for a lot. And don't forget you can watch it live on YouTube. The links to the podcast is in the description once this goes up live, and the link from the podcast to this live broadcast is on the description of the podcast, so you can kind of go woof like that. Anyway, thank you very much for listening and watching, if indeed you still are. It was a long one, I must admit, but there was a lot to get through this week. 2 hours and 45 minutes we've been going. So yeah, but a lot of news to get through, and I think we did well. I think we put the world to rights, and yeah, I'm going to chill for a little while, and then who knows, I might be back on again. I'll definitely be on again tomorrow doing something. But yeah, don't forget, loads of cooking videos coming up as well. I've got, where are we? Oh, hang on, I've got another message. Oh no. I'm live on YouTube. Who knew? Who knew? So we've got, food-wise, we've got a chicken curry. There we go, chicken curry. And we've got a fish curry. I'm not even joking, it is a fish curry. And loads of other stuff as well. So loads of stuff coming. But I've got 4 videos I've already recorded, plus I'll do the vlog tomorrow. I've got a Razer review to do tomorrow, and possibly some live streaming of gaming as well. So thank you very much for watching, listening, etc. And all being well, I will see you again soon. And look after yourselves. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time. A big shout out to the people who commented. So Angela, Krish, Sean J, Daniel Giles, anyone else who's listened or watched as well, thank you very much. Toff as well, big thank you. And all being well, I will see you in a week when we will have a discussion again, and we'll see what a week that was. Until then.